And we're live. Hello and welcome to this special episode of Game Theory Gang. We've got over 20 special guests, and I've got some really big news to announce. And so none of the guests today know what my presentation is about. They just know that it's something that's supposed to help PulseChain and PulseX and HEX. And so they will get the opportunity to tear the idea to shreds or say nice things about it or whatever they want to do. As soon as I bring them back up, we've got 3 hours worth of panels. Each panel is 1 hour. And so I'm going to do a 5-minute presentation now and then bring everybody back up. And I want to thank you all for being here. It means a lot. Awesome. So let me get my my screen here set up. So basically, we all know that in 2008, central bankers turned savers into traders, and traders always lose, which is why that's such a bad thing for the world, right? And this happens because of inflation, right? And so fiat inflation is basically when banks print more money and the price of things goes up. And so it's a bad deal for people who are saving their money because they have to choose between buying things now for a cheaper price or paying more in the future. And that's not the best way to run an economy or a society. And so society loses in exponential ways, not just financial. And so I photoshopped a copy of Maslow's hierarchy here and called it Allin's hierarchy. And the way that I would define this as Allin's hierarchy means that environments, especially monetary environments, influence our needs at a profound level. And that's something that we can talk about, in future episodes, or it's kind of a very macro take on individual behavior and psychology. But the point is that HEX is something that kind of helps us have more of a predictable, and I think crypto in general helps us have a more predictable financial monetary environment. And that's better than the fiat inflation model. So some of the questions that I've asked myself are, how did the HEX price and community do so well? What was the secret to success? How can blockchain security suck less? And how can PulseChain and PulseX participants win even more? So one thing that I noticed is that people who time locked in HEX are the ones who are winning the most. And the magnitude is really unbelievable. For example, the first Stimmy check is still worth $85,000 if it was invested in HEX. And that is during the current 4x dip that we're experiencing. Stakers who didn't even buy the all-time low, but bought 2 years ago, are still up 1,000x with staking. And, PulseChain is coming, by the way. It is coming. It's not vaporware. It's going to be on mainnet at some point. And this will popularize HEX and bring millions of people into our monetary environment. And so now we need the ability to make more people win than ever. It seems like when people are staked, they participate in community and they stick around for a lot of years. We had over 120 streamers who conferenced together for the online HEX conference that I hosted back in January. What did you do with HEX? Or, what you did with HEX basically is you got the majority of your gains that came from time locking. So you also stopped getting scammed by time locking with an RH product, and you stopped being bored. That's an important thing. Communities can get trapped into shiny object syndrome if they don't have something new and exciting to rally around. And you may have stopped trading and stopped losing, and you started to be more long-term minded. I've got a video clip here that I am very humbled to play. Let me see if this works here.
A lot of people do a better job promoting HEX and understanding it than I do, which is crazy because I invented it and pretty good at marketing things and selling things. So I think Matty Allin does a better job talking about giving yourself a gift in the future, like teleporting it through time using the time locking.
Time locking. So let me emphasize that. The majority of the APY in HEX actually comes from time locking. Money has certain known functions according to economists. It's a store of value, it's a medium of exchange, and it's a unit of account. And time locking is the monetary function of storing value. It's the higher order version of that. It's the apex of storing value, is proving on the blockchain that you can't sell something for a certain amount of time. So what I'll be offering in the future is a tool so that people can time lock their PulseChain and their PulseX tokens. And we're calling this smartvault.me. And it's a collaboration between myself and Future Us. So just like HEX, the game theory was announced before the final code was available. I wanted to announce the game theory for this because there's so many exciting pieces to it that I think the community can pick apart. So how does time locking help? We already know with HEX, it allows the price to go up more due to scarcity in the here and now. It allows people to stop trading and start saving again. It allows you to protect yourself from your own future self that could start thinking more short term. We know that the majority of the APY comes from time locking and that humans build a better future due to aligned incentives. So without like having any expectations, I mean, obviously the expectation is there's not going to be a coin associated with this and there's not going to be a sacrifice. But even beyond that, we don't want people to harass us about when is it going to be done and all that kind of stuff. The code is in production, but that doesn't mean that it's ready to test yet. Although that's the exciting part, is that the game theory is ready to be scrutinized today. So this is a smart contract. It's not a wallet. You keep your keys. You get the choice to lock for years with or without a weekly drip. There are also important permissions that we discovered could be enabled so that people can recover in some cases if a hacker gets their hot wallet keys. If you wanted an inheritance to take effect, if you wanted to gift or onboard somebody, if you wanted to do a social recovery switch if it's dormant. Now, the cost, what's the catch? Well, it's not that bad. There's a 1% fee that you choose whether you give it to us or whether you pay it to your future self. But in order to qualify to pay it to your future self and not us, you have to do a waiting game. And the waiting game is meant to like simulate HEX so that you can get experience. Maybe you're not into HEX yet, or maybe you want to prove that you already know how to delay gratification. So you might have to wait for like 5 minutes, show up 5 minutes later. And then every minute that you wait, the amount of time served is going towards the 0% fee that you would get if you wait for exactly 5 minutes. And so we felt like that was a fair way to like align incentives and to give people a practice, like paying themselves to wait longer and that sort of thing. The amount of X that can be done is really incredible. And especially because in this ecosystem, we think that the founder maybe won't dump on our heads. And that is a negative. It's lacking a negative externality that every other coin seems to have a problem with. Vitalik dumps, the creators of Uniswap and all these other tokens seem to have dumped on their followers. And in HEX, that is not the case. So there are really incredible gains that are possible. But that comes with its own risk. I know Greg Schoen follows me on Twitter. He's the famous dude who back in 2011 thought he had missed the boat on Bitcoin because he had he had sold his 1,700 Bitcoin at 30 cents and realized that they were at $8 and never bought back in. Like, I talked to him about it, and he is still working a regular job, even though those Bitcoin, even with this 60% dip, would be worth more than $1 billion today. He didn't time lock it, so he couldn't hold on to the mad gains. So I'm inviting everybody to come help build this community with me. I need your feedback and participation in planning your own future. Smartvault.me is the way that you could be able to stake your PulseChain and your PulseX tokens. The Telegram is up and running. That's the #1 spot to catch us, and it's SmartVaultMe. The Twitter is the same, SmartVaultMe. VAULTME. And we're looking for volunteers to admin, answer questions, contribute game theory, make graphics, etc., etc. I also have a version 1 survey to help us understand the plan that you're going to make around time locking your PulseChain and PulseX tokens. And you can find that survey at smartvault.club. And it's just 5 questions, and they're really simple. So my final comment is that the code causing the most people to win is what game theory and crypto should really mean. And so that's what I'm trying to do here.
And everybody's shocked because it's not a coin.
What's up? What do you guys think?
Thank you for not asking me for money, first of all.
Hey, I'm going to jump in real quick, and I want to just say that I did a video I don't know, eight months ago or something, and it was how to 10,000x in PulseChain. And it was a whole strategy video, but it all funneled down to one main point, which was hold your Pulse coin. So it sounds like you're in alignment with that, because a lot of people, they just don't have diamond hands sometimes, and they push the sell button. And it looks like you're finding a way to prevent that. So we can stick with our Richard Hart mentality of understanding delayed gratification and talking to Funding Jim. You understand the HEX OG mindset. You understand that we're here for the long haul, and the real gains come from waiting it out.
Well, not only is there a sell button, but there's a million other buttons that are going to be there to take all your money. There's people that think they're doing a good job, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And so I would much rather I actually came up with this idea for Maxi token, and it turns out that so did Tanto. He came up with it way before me, and or Dip Catcher, sorry. And yeah, it might actually exist in those derivative contracts one day, but I mean, this is something I would want, not with my full stack. Obviously, I want to be able to play around with certain apps like liquid loans and whatnot, but I'm smarter than most people, literally. So I wouldn't recommend that to your everyday Joe off the street.
And more humble. It's more humble than everybody.
Yeah.
If I can have a moment, when I spent the time with Richard in Miami, a solid 30 minutes, maybe 20, 30 minutes at least, was Richard unsolicited speaking with me and Dollar Cost specifically about Maddie. Maddie, really, his intention, what Richard's belief is about Maddie's purpose and participation in the community, development of the community, things like that. Completely unsolicited. I mean, there wasn't even a trigger word, I don't think. So, the design intention as far as just this, 5-minute thing or whatever, I have a lot of curiosity and a lot of interest in. And then when it comes to this idea of time locking has been available to Bitcoin for quite some time. You've been able to lock your Bitcoin away from yourself for a while. That's not a new idea. It is one of the, you can send, you can receive, and you can time lock basically. And out of all of the engagement that I've had over the past 6 or 7 months with mostly Bitcoin maxis being in these Twitter spaces, people, David Gokhshtein and Tone Bays and all these different conversations and things like that I've been engaged with, they never talk about locking away their own idea of value from themselves. Even the ones that, I think the only one that I've heard a Bitcoin maximalist talk about locking themselves away was this debate with Richard Hart guy, and he was all over the place. So I really didn't take his accounts seriously. But I do like the idea of being able to sequester, lock away, staking ladder. I love that design about HEX. And it is because this is walking cryptocurrency for most people, especially when I came in 2017, is a big gambling casino with every bell and whistle to entice me to go one direction or another. And without a community that already has experience in a particular token or some kind of strong natured founder, you really just pull slot machine arms all day long and find out that you lost it all. That's usually what happens in my experience. So I really am curious about this time lock. I don't need to be necessarily incentivized. I think it's really cool that you said something about, creating new habits to replace maybe old ones, about the 1% fee idea, and basically familiarizing the base or the user experience with delay. I think that's what a lot of like the Steemit stuff and other kinds of products that came out in 2016, 17, and so forth, they were trying to do. Or EOS, they would have like a time lock of you can't really access your coin until a week has gone by or 2 weeks or something like that. I would like to see something that's a longer term than just 5 minutes. I really do want people to be engaged with that idea of delaying and not be as emotion driven. But at least on the outline so far, I'm really curious in supporting this.
Awesome.
I love the idea, Maddie. I'm wondering what people are going to get for rewards. Like, obviously, there's going to be no interest, right? But I think it might be kind of cool if there was some kind of social club aspect of gloating or bragging rights, or something that really seems to vibe with the community is the staker class, like my dolphin, whale, shark. Well, maybe you develop some kind of league system so people can brag about being able to delay gratification longer. Yeah, egos really drive that. So might work.
That'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be really cool.
That's another idea actually during your presentation. This NFT craze has been wild, and this braggadocious thing is actually useful. On my Gary Woods Win Twitter account, I show that I invested $30,000 market buy of HEX and staked it 1, 2, and 3 years. And then when PulseChain and PulseX come out, there's $10,000 for each coin that's set aside waiting for market buy. So when fair market bridge happens, it's a $50,000 commitment, right? And if it was able to be locked other than just willpower through a tool like this, I would lock that PLSX and PLS buy with the time lock feature if that was possible. Now, the challenge is, anonymizing, privacy, $5 wrench threat, all the stuff that goes on inside of crypto as well. And so I like the idea of NFT to a degree about a display, or, whale or shark or dolphin. I love all those things about staker class stuff, but I would love the NFT to be mixed. If it was something to say it's valid in some way, that this really is staked inside of the system that maybe your wallet's talking about, but I still have some degree of anonymity, but only I can display it, then I would display it. It's just like, how do you display what you have that you believe in the community, or you believe in the token, or you believe in the concept of locking yourself away for time delay and that value without making yourself significantly at risk in crypto? Those are my only curious things, really.
I have a question too. When we stake this Pulse, it's all going to one database? So essentially, it's like, how does it work? Where is it all going?
So it's going. So like your private keys, instead of just creating an account, it's going to create an account that controls smart contracts. And so it's similar to Gnosis Safe in that way, that like a smart contract will be owning it, and that's why you're not able to withdraw it. But you're the one who owns the smart contract, and there's no middleman, there's no like master contract to get hacked or anything. It's just it's as if your own wallet has a wallet of its own, basically. That's a smart contract on chain. And there actually might be some cool things that we can do to build privacy in, because as long as the blockchain knows that the smart contract owns something, then it doesn't necessarily have to know who owns the smart contract.
When there's like an EES, how does that work? If you do a 2-year time lock and then something comes up and you're like, oh my God, I have to get my pulse out. What happens then? Is it locked in, no way out, or is there, how does that work?
So for this, you choose up front what security features you want and what kind of a drip you want. And so, for example, you could choose to make a lock for any period of time, but the minimum withdraw period is 7 days notice. And that actually helps with HEX too. And so if you or anybody else goes to withdraw funds from that account, then it starts a 7-day timer, and the funds can only be withdrawn within those 7 days. So I know I'm like veering a little bit off of your question, but like this is important to understand, is that basically the thing that we know that the hacker will never do that you would do is give control to somebody else who's been pre-selected, right? The hacker is never going to flip a switch to lock themselves out of basically the hot wallet that they've gotten control of. And so people will be able to choose up front to create these switches that will switch control, and it would only be, the person who got hacked that would be flipping that switch and not the hacker themselves. So that's an important part of game theory that like is very relevant to the reason why we have a 7-day time delay for a withdraw. So you could time lock for like 10 seconds, but then if you wanted to withdraw, it would take 7 days. Now you could also time lock for 20 years. And then the other setting on the time lock that you would want to choose is how often do you want to withdraw? And you can, and if your interval timer is set for weekly, then you could do a time lock for 10 years and you could withdraw however much time you've served weekly. If you did a 10-year time lock and then your interval was 10 years, then you would have to serve all 10 years before you get the stake out.
It's very interesting.
I'll go last because I'm the Simon Cowell of the bunch. So, David.
Yeah, there's, while people are doing this, and there's no way, because I'll admit, like, selfishly, the only reason I wouldn't want people to do that is because I want them to vote for a validator with their pulse, but they can't if it's locked in a vault.
Solved it.
Really?
It's taken care of. You can still vote for a validator. And you should vote for David Feeder.
Oh, man. Well, that's surprising. Wow. Okay. That's really cool.
Just because your smart contract tells you that you can't spend the coins doesn't mean that it has to tell you that you can't vote using them, because the validator voting system does not actually move the coins. They stay in your wallet. That's the game theory that makes it possible. And we're not letting people have any expectations, but we're optimistic that what we're coding or not coding or whatever, basically that like it'll be compatible. This idea that you can still vote for a validator, which is cool, because then you don't have to choose between that like tiny little APY or none at all.
And that does give people APY while they wait.
It does.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that you're talking about pre-selected rails. Like if you're a train car and you can have a hacker basically mess with the direction of the train, it can only go to, not to them, but to one of pre-selected. I think that's an interesting thing to talk about more in the future. And then the other thing is almost like one of those solving things, even though it is hybridizing legacy with crypto, as far as a display of your shark status, whale status, turtle status, or whatever, is since crypto heartbeats in the room, fiduciary responsible foundations, things like that could be the proxy that you're not telling the world your entire blockchain history by displaying an NFT that shows your entire history. Because we had this issue with Tornado Cash and mixing and things like that, right? But effectively banks are mixers, foundations are mixers. If you know that you have a certain amount with the foundation knows what your contribution has been or what your stake is in the foundation. And maybe something along those lines could be like a hybrid. I think it's interesting. What I would want to do is I want to be able to show the support, not just advocate it on YouTube. I want to be able to show it somehow, but I'm also considerate of like privacy matters. And I would really, even though, there's this us versus them about government, foundation, banks, and so forth, they serve a purpose, and we're going to still have them in the future. And so these are really interesting ideas that I'll talk more about a different time, but this is really cool.
Yeah.
Can you go a little deeper into the protection from the hacking? That is so fascinating. If that works, that is genius. You've essentially, your wallet gets taken over. The first thing the hackers want to do is get all your crypto out. And a lot of times that's what happens. People log in and say, oh my God, my crypto's gone. You essentially put a block on it that stops them from being able to extract it. And it goes into like a default where like Funding Jim said, the train gets put on a different track to someone who you've pre-selected. So have you actually found a way to stop hackers?
Yeah. Not every possible hack, because because you could give the hacker access to multiple keys basically, but the idea is that most hackers are not trained to look for multiple keys, and that they would never flip the switch that you would flip to give up control to a more complicated system, basically. And so
if they hack the safe, they're in the safe, but they can't do anything without the keys that initiated the safe.
So they would basically do a withdraw, because anybody who has the primary keys can do a withdraw, including yourself. But we're assuming in this case that somebody else got them. Maybe you clicked on something or tried to mint an NFT or tried to claim an airdrop that was like bad for you. And so a hacker now has access to your private key. They go to withdraw the funds, and a 7-day time lock gets put on it. And anytime during that 7 days, you could get a notification that somebody's trying to make a withdraw, and you could flip a switch that would give control to someone else. It could be yourself having a separate cold storage key. It could be, it could be a family, it could be social recovery, it could be a family member. But the idea is that it's just like, that secondary key or that recovery key, there's different game theory about that. And, but that key doesn't have permission. It's not like just a master key. It doesn't have permission to go in and do stuff if you haven't flipped the switch. And so it gives you more optionality when it comes to how you protect yourself. And if we're, time locking things that become super valuable, that go up in value 10,000x or 1,000,000x or more, then we need securities built in place that are more advanced than probably what we have now, because right now blockchain security sucks.
It would be similar to like Wallet Connect with the Gnosis safe, where you have to go into the second screen to create the permissions, and then it interacts with your MetaMask, and then you have to sign on the MetaMask.
Yeah, and the way that interface works is like it's like creating like 2 of 3 or 2 of 4, and it's just like the options need to be more expansive than that. It needs, because that creates a really simple situation where like 2 people can go run off with your money if I didn't flip a switch. So yeah.
Go ahead, Hod Pro.
Oh, okay. So from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, I guess this wouldn't be an issue of any sort of backwards compatibility, right? Because this is for staking Pulse and PulseX, not HEX or anything like that, right? Or is HEX included in this invention?
I think that the primary use case is to time lock PulseChain and PulseX. I think that the game theory changes when we talk about HEX, and it's we know that it's not backwards compatible in terms of like your legacy stakes and everything.
Yeah.
And so doesn't mean that it can't work with HEX, but HEX, there would have to be a lot more built into it. And so it would be, that's not the first thing that we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. Okay.
The design of this is not to earn yield. It's not competitive yield. It's not a competitive product. It is
Correct.
simply a staking feature that allows you to delay gratification. And we'll get to this later because I'm going to tell him why I believe it's going to have trouble with adoption. But it's not incentivized. So he's not making any money. You're not making any money for locking it. But it keeps you from having weak paper hands because you actually have another solid commitment that you have to keep, that you set yourself through your own wallet. You're setting your own terms and you have to honor those. So
And
it's
you can
creating those positive behaviors that are required to be successful. And I'm going to pass it off to Matt.
There's a
Johnny,
there's
Johnny and
a
I had a
1%
conversation
fee
about
that's
that also.
optional.
Yeah.
Right. If they wait 5 minutes, it goes away. If they got a fat finger,
Correct.
click the button within 5 minutes. Yeah. So
Correct.
and what's that for? That is behavioral modification is what Matty, God bless him. He has this idea that he's going to save everybody by redirecting their behavior to more positive behaviors. And I don't want to get into all this. I'm going to give it to Matt first.
Okay.
So, Matty, I just a question for you. Are you forking Gnosis Safe?
No.
Okay, so it's not. Is this a ground up build, or is this something that you're using an existing contract?
Ground up.
Ground up. Okay. So will it have the same components, multi-sig? It sounds like it will, like Gnosis Safe. Like how similar will it be? Because there's value to Gnosis Safe. And I was kind of curious because if you are, I think it's actually a really good service you'd be providing. So will it encompass the same functions of Gnosis Safe?
Gnosis Safe is like really primitive. Like what we're making is far more powerful because Gnosis Safe only pretends like the things that are built in are like private keys that somebody else has. But really, for example, you can put your own password on what we're building. And that's an extra layer of security that you can have for yourself. And then you can choose basically a much more complicated like set of permissions, which is what you need if you're doing something for 5 or 10 or 20 years. Like you need more choices than just let me do a 2 of 3 signature. Like that sucks.
Okay. So I think they're really, just a helpful thing for people to understand it very simply is really a use case. So, for example, take someone who they don't have to be a HEX OG, but what is a use case in a scenario in which you would say, this is how I'd recommend you using? I mean, I understand the outcomes of, hey, protect yourself from yourself, but most people don't want to admit that they need the help, right? Everyone thinks they're the smartest person around. And so you've got to be able to convince people that this has a benefit to them that they really ought to be using. That's why I asked about Gnosis Safe is, besides the incentive to do it, it is the right behavior, but a lot of people shouldn't smoke and eat too much, right? There's a lot of things we know we shouldn't do, but we do them anyway. So what would be the use case you'd say to someone that says make this really almost irresistible to someone to adopt?
So I've got an extra slide. So people who didn't time lock their HEX didn't survive. 75% of user controlled coins are time locked now. So the people who even had money to who had big money to sacrifice for PulseChain and PulseX, they already believed in Richard and they already survived like by time locking. So they should already be incentivized to do this with or without like rewards on top of the 1000x that they got for time locking. So like it seems like with all the new people and all the people who came in the middle, it seems like that this should be a harder sell, but I believe that it's actually going to be the best product market fit of all time, because literally all the people who have the bags in PulseChain and PulseX of like millions or hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands, like I believe all those people already know that they need the help.
I think that you're already offering a pretty good feature set by just the security layer alone. A lot of people get scared that, you know, if a hacker does steal their wallets, it's going to be all gone. So that's number one, pretty good. But like I said, and like Matt was just saying, or even Johnny too, like incentivization is pretty necessary. Bitcoin has time locking and nobody uses it. But if they did, they'd all be rich right now, but they're not.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you need an incentive, right? And like I said earlier, that could be a social thing. It could be a ranking system for bragging. People like that. But also Motley in the chat, I want to bring up his idea. It's pretty cool. He said, what if you do it like the We Are All source address? What if you do it like the last man standing game, so that 1% goes to a pool where the people that bail early forfeit their 1% that goes into the pool that gets distributed to all the people that actually followed through on their time lock?
Well, if they do it right and wait 5 minutes to click, there won't even be a 1%. So
well, the 5 minutes to click thing, I don't really like that idea, but I mean, that's
5
fine.
minutes doesn't seem like a real investment of time, man. I mean,
Yeah.
longer.
no, it doesn't. But I mean, I get what he's doing. He's trying to do the Pavlov dog thing where he's trying
but
to.
5 minutes doesn't translate to 15 years.
Marshmallow.
You know what I mean? It doesn't.
I don't know, man. These guys cannot last. That's just it. These guys cannot last 5 minutes, and most of the things that are being designed now that are gaining so much popularity are literally to bypass the staking system, to bypass the delayed gratification and allow people to have access to easy funds. And that is what is actually making them popular. And like Coffee's saying, if you don't incentivize people's behaviors in some way, they're not going to adopt the product. The Bitcoin thing has been there forever. Nobody uses it. Unfortunately, if they had, it would have been beneficial to them. And this is, in a way, it's kind of like trying to, give people health food when all they want is a damn candy cane. So this is kind of the problem where I see that it might not be able to, despite the efforts, people don't want to do what's healthy for them. So you have to trick them in some way to do something healthy for them. And me and Maddie had this discussion earlier, because it's like, man, I don't want to just throw stuff blind at you here, but the incentivization is necessary. And Maddie's argument on that was that it's one too many steps. First, we got to get them to do the behavior. If they're, incentivized for the behavior, explain it how you explained it to me, because I still don't really get it.
Yeah. So, so basically my observation is that, that there will be more. So like the majority of the gains are going to come from people who have the biggest bags time locking, like those, just like in HEX, 75% of user controlled coins like survived the 1000X because they were time locked. Like, so we already know like PulseChain, they're like, that's really what matters for the price and the scarcity and everything, is the biggest, like the whales and the sharks and the dolphins, like time locking or like selling. Either way, like they're going to be gone. And it's going to be the people who are time locking that survive. But like the broader idea here is that a lot of people don't want to join HEX. Wait, I have another slide for this. So like some people think APY seems scammy, basically. And so that just kind of like, so this is a chance for people to try time locking because it's a cool and new thing to do, without like, so basically people are so many steps away from HEX right now because they don't like time locking and they don't like APY, and they just don't like HEX because they heard it was bad in the beginning and they never changed their mind. But with PulseChain and PulseX, if people are already lured into the ecosystem because they think those are really cool products, and then they try time locking, then they'll be within one step of like trying HEX. But right now, it's questionable whether they will, like maybe try PulseChain, PulseX, and then they'll try tradable hex stakes or something that like really isn't going to give them the highest gains because they're going to sell it when it does a 10x like Greg did. And they're not going to make their $1 billion.
I'll agree.
That's a good point to make.
People use
the good
that
point
like
to
a
make is
scam
it's not the
trigger
highest
word.
gains. The good point to make is it's not the highest gains in the short term, in the short period. It is the 2-year, 3-year, 5-year, 10-year game inside of Bitcoin, as your example earlier. So like I do see a ton of people chasing after, this is circumventing the staking mechanism of HEX. This is a way that you can have liquidity because you need liquidity now because you need to, gamble a different thing. I see a lot of that happening, and it is cannibalizing the idea. And the idea really is that it's a limited supply that has appetite, it has, brand alignment. We had it for 2 years before PulseChain and all the other narratives erupted into the scene, basically, where we're single branded, single product, single tribe, single group, minded. And that's helped. That's helped a lot the price. Now, I'm not negative about other things being built on the platform of PulseChain or PulseX or traded, or even the things like Hedron that seem to be aligning in that you're only the stakes generate the Hedron. I think you can buy it from the market, but you can only generate new Hedron from stakes. So these kinds of things that are aligning with our principles, I do like a lot. And also you said something earlier, which it seemed like Coffee was pushing on and Johnny was pushing on, was you're not going to get mass adoption. Well, guess what? You don't have mass adoption about fitness programs, and you don't have mass adoption about, other behaviors that, provably shorten your lifespan or provably are detriment to your psychology. You don't have mass adoption in that. You do have a certain population that do, and they care, right? So I don't think you have to really only target the mass or even the middle. There is a percentage of people that will participate. And if they do have a way to basically advocate, I love the guy that's very fit and he runs all the time and he super exercises, and I'm more pudgy than he is. But when he gets hit by a bus, I don't give a fuck. I'll be like, dude, that guy, he didn't do it right because he didn't even look for the bus, right? So some of this, I want to be able to promote either myself or the foundation or the entity or whatever. Here is our skin in the game. And here is when we can't even access it until this time window, right? If Allin had bought Doge or Bitcoin and had a time lock, right, that he couldn't get out of, I'd be like, man, that's pretty cool. That's real testimony. But buying it and then selling it, months before the quarter releases the fact that you just sold it to the public, I don't like that shit.
So quick question. When you want to withdraw your funds, do you have a verification method where you're going to reach out to the people, or is there a code you can generate that if that doesn't get completed, you can't pull it?
So it's just it's pretty much like how the blockchain already works, which is you have your primary key and you submit a transaction. In this case, you have to submit the transaction that you want to withdraw a certain amount in 7 days from now. And then when those 7 days are up, then it's time for you to mint your crypto. And so you unlock that portion of it, whatever that is. And you would, if you haven't been hacked, then you could do it the normal way of just using your primary keys. If you have been hacked, then you want to flip a switch to make it so that your hot wallet keys are not the only keys that are needed in order to unlock, in order to withdraw.
Yeah, because how Google authenticates, if you sign in and it doesn't recognize the device, it sends it to your phone. You have to put in the code. It's 2-factor. Is there some type of way you can engineer a secondary or tertiary factor into it to increase the security more?
So we're doing that with passwords and other people's addresses and that sort of thing, so that you get to choose what those other methods are, but those methods are verifiable on the blockchain and there's no admin keys, which is like really cool.
So per marketing of this product, I'm just shooting from the hip. If you can create a chart of the percentage of safety that a new coiner has or a no coiner, and they get into these projects, and if they just have a MetaMask, like how safe are they versus a hacker? And then compare it to if you put this time lock function with Smart Vault, you have all these extra layers. If you can find like 90% safer, your pulse is 90% safer or something like that, put it in a single sentence, I think that's a really good introduction for people who don't know what this is.
I think it's hard to quantify that, but I think that good marketing will be required or useful.
I mean, all you can do is build the tool and tell people what the tool does and hope that they'll utilize the tool. I think a lot of people get caught up in what they feel or what they believe, and they assume that other people think like them. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of people that think like any of us. So it's kind of hard to project that and say, yeah, where you go with that, Gary? So it's hard to project what you think other people are going to do and what they're going to utilize. We know that time locking is, and delayed gratification is the way to make the massive gains. We know that. But everybody out there in the crypto space in general is saying, where's my yield? Where's my reward? Am I making more over here than I'm making over here? And possession, the concept of possession is very important. How many people want their PulseChain coins now? Raise your hands. How many people would like to have their Pulse coins right now? All right. Coffee, don't even try. So, okay, next question. How many people here intend to sell any Pulse coin in the first year? Nobody, right? Well, why is it so important for those coins to be in possession?
I want a price tag.
We want a price tag. We want to hold it. We want to be able to have the option to do stuff. And that is where that psychology comes into play, where people don't want to lock up their money. They haven't been trained. They think their money has to be doing something for them. They really believe that. So this sitting by and doing nothing is really a hard sell. And creating a product that's that kind of hard sell with no incentives, that's a hard sell. And I get why Maddie's doing it. I understand. And I don't know how well it's going to be received. And he's putting his own money into this, and he's putting his own effort into this. And the reason he's doing it is very odd. But the reason is because he wants to teach people delayed gratification. And unfortunately, I don't know if this tool is going to do this for a lot of people, because I think it's something that you either have or you don't. And I don't think this tool is going to be able to teach people that, because most
I disagree.
people want to hold possession.
I respectfully disagree, sir, but that's only because basically, like you already said, we need incentives of some kind. And so far, the best idea that I've heard from the chat, and kind of putting my own spin on it, is to make this really simple and as elegant as I can think of in 30 minutes is make the people that break the time lock pay 1% to the people that stay time locked. That way you have an incentive for other people to, shill it to other people, and it creates network effects, or add some kind of a league, or both. And both of those things probably wouldn't take too much extra time or effort. I mean, obviously, I'm sure you don't want to add anything at this point. You probably thought about this for days and weeks, but that's just my my 2 hacks.
And Hexicans would probably understand that sort of someone coming out early, paying out the rest of the pool deal, or the Watsa-esque idea of the pool subsequently getting shorter, as time goes on, would bring more people in as well, although that has a cutoff time.
I agree. It needs an incentive system of some sort in order to gain any sort of popularity, because people want to be incentivized. And Maddie here told me, he said, that's too many steps. So maybe he'll change his mind. Maybe he'll add some incentive programs to it. But originally when we talked, he wanted to keep it as simple as possible.
PVM Crypto says you're basically going to end up reverse engineering HEX after you get done with all this.
No, because there doesn't need to be extra APY. You know, the whole point of this is that you can't early end stake. You can drip to yourself. You can pay out the time that you've served if you plan for that ahead of time. But there's not going to be any revenue from people ending early, because you can't end early. And for the same reason that nobody's going to get paid out with hacked coins, because you know, because hackers aren't ending early and they're not paying out, you know, some of the coins to people. It is much simpler than HEX. There is no APY. The APY and the incentive for why people will promote this is because if you are short-term minded, which we all are, and we're all long-term minded as well, we're both. But if you're short-term minded, then you will promote it because you want other people to lock up their coins, because then your coins are going to be able to sell for more. And the reason why you're going to promote it if you're long-term minded is because you want more people to win with you, and because it makes your coins more valuable now.
Like, I get that. I like it. Go ahead, Podbro.
I have a question on PulseX, because I think we're definitely talking about Pulse and locking it up, but there's also the PulseX aspect of it. Yeah, you can validate your Pulse, right? But PulseX has additional functionality. It's supposed to kind of be used for one-sided staking on PulseX, right? So I'm wondering what you're able to do with that token as PulseX would be locked away. Is it, because for me personally, I would think that, and I'm using, you know, Liquid Loans protocol for some Pulse. I'll probably validate others, right? But the fact that you can validate, that you can delegate to a validator while using the system with Pulse is great. That's necessary for people, because, you know, if there's any way to make a passive income, I mean, other than the 1% on this protocol, I guess, then it would be advantageous for them to be able to do that while it's locked. But I think with PulseX, even though I like to hodl by nature, perhaps maybe that could be more of a loose token that, you know, could be used a little more strategically on the site. So on PulseX. So I don't know about PulseX. Are you able to stake PulseX while using this? I'll call it a protocol vault. I don't know.
Yeah, so there's no type of staking that you can do where you would have impermanent loss, because then the coins aren't really locked the same way. And so that's pretty much like kind of out of the question if that's what we're talking about. The staking gets thrown around in a lot of different contexts.
Yeah,
so,
it does.
Yeah.
That's true.
So it's not really staked, it's vaulted.
Yeah.
In this case, it's not staked, it's not earning APY, it's just vaulted. But you can delegate.
It's time locked.
Well, it's vaulted. It ain't coming out. It's permalock, man. It's not coming out. You set the terms, and that's what it is.
How do you give an incentive to people without, you know?
Well, we have
truly
social
locked?
beliefs. We have social beliefs that a certain percentage of both. Sorry, am I delayed?
You lagged.
You know what would be cool, Maddie? Since NFTs are popular, and you had created the NFTs before, okay, for the you know, like the rewards or whatever, you make it a year. You complete a stake a year, you get a NFT that's only submitted to the people that have done that. You make it another year, you get another NFT for that. So you could make a reward system like on NFTs, a level of achievement. So people could say, look, I'm a real holder. Yeah, I lock the coins up. So that
a whale could come along and airdrop people badges after a year.
Nice.
Can you do a time lock ladder?
Yeah, and that's actually the ladder's kind of built in, because you can set the interval timer, and so you can say I'm doing a 10-year lock, but I'm gonna be able to withdraw every week, or you could say every month or every quarter or every year. And so it's one of the settings that you're setting up ahead of time. That is a way. It's, I think, a different way to think about the same thing of creating a ladder, because you're looking at it more as like a drip.
Like a scrape almost of, well, it's not really interest. So it would be a little bit
like
different.
it's coming
it's
on
access to your funds. It's rationing your own funds.
So
This
you
is
could
such a ballsy thing to do, to have no end stake button. That's so bold. I love it. It's just like people are gonna freak out. A lot of people are not gonna like understand. Well, why would I? You know, it's just wild.
It's like a trust fund. It's a trust
fund.
Fund.
If you show charts of Ethereum, Bitcoin, other HEX or whatever, and you marched out, here's what happened over the first 3 months, and then 6 months, and then 9 months, and you show the charts, people will tend to infer that their coin will perform the similar way. So if you have drips or if you have staking ladders, things that we've promoted over the years anyway, you have social control and we have trust that some OA is not going to dump on our heads. And you have social trust in yourself that you're going to hold true to what you said a year ago when things change, when markets change, when cycles change. You say you're going to start college, you're going to finish college, and then people don't finish college. You say you're going to go to the gym, you sign up in January, and March you're not going, right? So there is accountability, and I do like the crutch of a vault or a contract. And it seems, again, whether it's socially, you're feeling like, hey man, I'm socially accountable. Like it's known that I have the stake out there. Or if I'm not public and I say, well, I'm just accountable to myself and I'm going to hold myself to what I said. Or if I'm contract accountable because I hit that button and now I'm committed, shit, I can't get out for 2 years. Like it's still the same thing. Like, I think it's helpful. And a certain percentage of my bag, if it were audited and, felt like it was a safe venture to lock myself away, I would do. I mean, me personally.
I have to say it's an awesome addition to allow the validation through the contract, Maddie, because that does actually add that extra feature to where you're like, look, no, really, seriously, this is the money that I'm committing, and this money is only going to do this validation thing. So that allows you to take like a percentage of your pool and keep it away from yourself. Maybe you could use the other money, right? Mm-hmm. But you're going to say, look, this money I am dedicated to the validators and I'm getting paid for delegating to these validators, and I'm going to just let this play out. Let me take this section, whether it's $100, because $100 right now is like a freaking million pulse, So $100 being like a million pulse, and just, hey, there's that million. It only cost me $100. Let me leave it over here. Let me forget about it. Let me go ahead and let the validators do their thing, and let me earn my yield on that. And I'll come back in 5-10 years and see what it does. The rest of my money, I can play with that over here. But that particular portion is going to be specifically assigned to the validators.
And so you can also, just like the normal system works, you can change your validator, once a day with the coins that you do have time locked. It doesn't take away that ability. So it's not like you have to choose one validator the whole time. Although we know that you're going to choose David and you're going to stick with him because he's going to do such a great job.
I don't know that Huddle Dog guy. He seems pretty swell too.
Quick
right?
Question, guys, in the chat. Don't mean to look. They're both great, Huddle Dog, Feeder. But one guy is asking, what about if I'm going to die in 10 years? What about inheritance?
That's planned to be built in.
How so?
So, like, for example, you don't want the only option of like being able to give your lawyer like the actual seed words without any permissions like set on it. That's a bad idea because the lawyer will run away with the money. And so you can set, like even Steph has talked about it before, like setting social recovery terms, such as if I don't make a transaction for a year, then it,
dead man switch. How about a dead man switch?
What about the divorce implications?
That's what it's called. Yeah. So that
I had
that's the thing. The 1 year dead man switch is like it gets around like all the probate issues so it kind of simplifies things to some extent. Now, Crypto Harvey, you've been a little bit quiet. I want to hear from you before we wrap up this panel and move on to the next bunch.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. I don't have a lot of, at the end of the day, I think that we all like you. I certainly do. I like the fact that you're advocating for people to hang on. You don't want people to get wrecked. I appreciate the fact that your heart is in the right spot. You're not trying to, you're not just a money grab, and you want to educate people, and you're a caring person. And so I appreciate that so much. And I wish you well. I mean, I want you to be successful. And, the fact that you don't have really, I look at this and I go, I don't see any benefit to Maddie.
I get a 1% if people are impatient. That could be a lot of money.
Yeah, but I don't see a whole lot of. So to me, it seems like pretty altruistic, and I appreciate you. I appreciate your contribution. I mean, you're a consistent guy who's encouraging people in the community, and right now in the bear market, that's about all we got. So I appreciate you so much.
Thanks.
Hey, before we go, before we go, I just want to say, have you thought about like coming up with some type of strategy where you just take a portion of the bag and time lock it, and you show a difference? Like, hey, if these people who sold their Bitcoin would have taken 10% and done this, here's where they would have been, no matter what happened. And maybe that's a good spin to throw at people. Just take a little bit, because we getting the airdrop 10,000 to 1. This is the time to time lock it when you get the fat 10,000 to 1 bag. Yeah.
And I would definitely use this too, but only on a portion of my stack, especially for Pulse. Like I would use that.
Yeah. So that's definitely, I think, something that'll be worth showing is how do people's portfolios compare, like the people who use time locking on PulseChain and PulseX and people who didn't. Like, I expect those portfolios to diverge greatly over time.
I was going over that picture of Bitcoin year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, where Bitcoin actually started out year 1 at 0.003, finished up at, there we go, finished up at 50 cents. These numbers are a little bit different than the ones that were on my chart, but you get the idea that my friend was asking me, he's like, well, why do you stake? I said, this is why you stake. You keep the money out of your weak hands. I said, look at year 1. If you bought that sucker for 0.003 and it was 50 cents, would you have sold? He'd be like, hell yeah. I said, well, you would have missed out on year 2. And you wouldn't have missed out on that $31. Would you have sold then? Hell yeah. I'm like, you realize Bitcoin was $69,000 earlier this year, right? So at all these points, every year, you would have been wrong to sell. You would have been wrong. The only last all-time high is the would have been the right point until it goes back up and does another all-time high. So I mean, that the power of locking is extraordinarily powerful. And I do believe, though, it was the incentive and the design and the truth engine and the 3 pools and the money that got us Hexicans to learn the value. Because even though we were incentivized by some amount of yield, which was nothing to begin with, nothing. It was like, you earn 10,000 hex a day. It was 2 cents. Okay. It was nothing. Oh, look, I earned 10,000 worth of hex and it's only worth 2 cents. Woohoo! Woo! Look at me. Yay. I'm earning yield. Right. So that's how it was at the beginning. But now I bet you wish you could earn 10,000 hex a day because of the price appreciation, because you were here, because you saved those coins, because you were incentivized to lock by that little bit amount of money. It wasn't much, turned into a whole lot. So it's great what he's teaching, but do we know that people are going to do what's good for them? I swear to God, if you give a hammer to 10 people, 9 of them are going to crack themselves in the head with it. I mean, you can put the tool out there, but it doesn't matter what you do. 9 out of 10 people are going to crack themselves in the head every time.
Well, out of all the people who have ever held Hex, only so there's 400,000 accounts that supposedly have touched it and only 100,000 stakers. So, I mean,
oh, come on. Each one of us got 10 to 100.
That's true. But, not all accounts have been staking Hex. And so there's different ways to use it. You can use it as liquid and you can use it time locked. And so I think that's the idea here.
I wish you luck, Maddie. I think
it's
a great concept. I commend you for trying to teach people to be responsible, to try to do the health things. And I really sincerely hope it works out and it gains adoption.
Can we have each of you go around and say where people can find you? For most everybody, I put a link in the description below to your Twitter. If I got a confirmation that you were going to speak like by yesterday or whatever, but I can add to that more. But you could say maybe where else other than just Twitter people can find you. Funding Jim?
Well, there's been a rash of imposters, so always spell properly. I am the same person on Instagram, same spelling. It's not something odd. I've gotten maybe like 20 messages today that my Instagram, somebody's impostered that. So spell it properly, FUNDINGGUYM. And I'm on all platforms that way. I'm also on all platforms as Gary Woods Win. And that's because I'm wanting to be on stage in no coin environments. So it's mostly real estate stuff that I deal with. It's mostly legacy stuff, corporate brands. And, through those interactions and network, I bring them into HEX specifically. So if you know someone that has influence and they have network or wealth, like above like 20 million or something like that, wealth, then if they don't relate to me, I can introduce them to people that is probably inside their network already and bring them into HEX. I really care about HEX a lot. I think it's a great product. PulseChain and PulseX I also support. Everything else, if I make a comment on Twitter, it's just because I'm curious, but I don't really participate necessarily. So that's really my brand. I'm going to stick by that.
Awesome.
David?
Oh, me? Oh, yeah. Everybody knows where to find me. I'm on Twitter, David, and I'm here every Tuesday night. So,
CCFX Studios on Twitter. I am trying to get away from the streaming thing. I am trying to take a break from Twitter. But if you really must find me on Twitter, there's over 20,000 posts that I've made over the last 2.5 years, repeating myself till I'm blue in the face, trying to keep people from their weak ass hands letting go of their gains and selling for other things. But apparently that's not always appreciated.
20,000?
But that's where you find me.
20,000 would be like how many per day?
God, I don't know.
It's 3 tweets. He's got an army.
3 tweets, yeah. Okay.
No, 20,000 of my own tweets, total tweets. I didn't even use my Twitter account before HEX. I literally have over 20,000 tweets where I made
Sounds like a bot.
Whatever else. Just scroll.
You're not
It's all
quitting
there.
cold turkey, sir.
I am. I'm quitting.
I don't know. You need a vault for your tweets.
Yeah.
You need Maddie to time lock your tweeting fingers.
wow, that's an average of 27 tweets a day.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well done.
Oh, it's my turn. Yeah. I could use that. I agree, Hudbro. I could use that time lock for Twitter actually. But let's see. What are my things? Like and subscribe to my channel. I don't have a coin to sell you, unfortunately. I know you were all hoping I could probably make one. But no, Maddie, thank you for bringing us here. I'm pleasantly surprised with the idea. I would personally use it, and it's good to be here. Yeah.
Cool.
All right, y'all. It's your boy Lit, flexing on it. Stoked to be here. You can find me on YouTube at My Life is Awesome, and you can find me at Twitter at Lit Gains. And I just want to say I really appreciate what you're doing, and you've always been this foundation of HEX, and this is really going to help people who are new to crypto if they can understand, dude, just a portion of my bag locked up, and it doesn't have to be locked up for 10 20 years. You can end one every month. You can ladder it out. You can have access to it in case you need to sell some. So I just really appreciate the extra layer of security you're offering, because let's be honest, y'all, if you lost your airdrop to a hack, this is devastating. This is devastating. We've been waiting over a year where like so much is invested in this airdrop. Any extra security, I just really appreciate you always looking out for the Hexicans first.
For sure.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Maddie, thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it. You can find me at Crypto Heartbeat daily, Monday through Friday, and sometimes on the weekends. And Texan.cc as well.
I am HodPro. You can find me on Twitter as HodPro and on Telegram as HodPro.
And she is not an android. She's real.
I'm real.
AI is the best.
This has been a super impressive panel. You're all legends in the space, and so I really appreciate you coming on and hearing this out. This idea needs help to be promoted, and so if people can let others know that there's a Telegram group, there's a Twitter, and we'll eventually have something for people to play with, that would be super helpful. So thanks for being here, and we'll go ahead and bring up the next panel.
Don't quit
Much
Twitter,
love, y'all.
Johnny. Keep tweeting. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I think David's going to stick around here, and Sticker Guy is going to send us the next people. Send them. So...
Oh, you want me to stick for this one, or
yeah? So
there's others joining.
I've got you on all the panels because you're the co-host for the show and everything.
Okay, cool.
So let's see. Looks like Sticker Guy got my message to send the next panel. This is exciting. There's still a couple nuggets that I haven't revealed yet because nobody's asked. So we'll see. We'll see if people can crack all the codes I've got here. Hey, how's it going, everyone?
Hey, Maddie.
Hello.
Greetings.
Yo. See you guys.
You too.
We are here.
So, did you guys hear the presentation in the last hour? Did anybody not hear it?
Do it all over again, Maddie.
Recap it?
No, I'm kidding.
I heard like the first 40 minutes ish, and then I was in the back of the green room.
Cool.
Same here.
Jesse was explaining it, the project a little bit, and I find it to be very interesting.
So the basic idea here is that it's going to be a utility for people to be able to time lock their PulseChain and PulseX tokens, and people will be able to lock for a certain amount of weeks or years, but then at the same time you can set a drip so that you're able to withdraw every week or every month, whatever you've decided ahead of time. So it could be quarterly, it could be yearly, or you could have no withdrawals. You could set the interval timer to the same amount of time as the global timer. And so that would be like, if you did a 1 year stake and you had a 1 year interval, then that's, you're waiting the whole period. And another thing that I guess I didn't explicitly say in the last segment is that you can make as many stakes as you want. So you can, you can mix and match, the different time frames that you want. It's pretty much each time lock, you can have more than one time lock in a vault.
Did you discuss how it's going to impact delegation?
Yes. Yep. It works. It's compatible.
Cool.
That's the explanation, pretty much.
I have a question. So if it's a wallet, we'll have a seed phrase, correct?
It's not a wallet. It's a series of smart contracts that create a smart vault.
Okay.
So you can still use a hardware device and just confirm adding this smart contract or initiating this smart contract and still use your hardware device?
That's correct.
That's great.
Be a good way to do it.
I think added security is a benefit for anybody within the crypto space, especially the new individuals that are going to come in when PulseChain and PulseX launch within our community that may not be well adept in the importance of security. So I think any project that assists in security and also expanding the game theory of PulseChain and PulseX, I'm open to embrace it.
Right on.
Can we talk about there's like a honeypot type aspect to this, or a reverse honeypot maybe? If an attacker gets a hold of your seed phrase, how does this smart contract protect you? Can you talk through some of that?
So whatever permissions that you've set up ahead of time are going to be what you would fall back on. The basic game theory that I said before that is worth repeating is this idea that if a hacker has your private key, which is your primary, way to control the account, they would never choose to flip a switch that would give control to somebody else that under normal circumstances. I mean, we could say if, like somebody who lives with you is hacking you, then that's a special, or if it's like your trusted person that's part of your social recovery is hacking you, then we still need to take all that into account and have that clearly spelled out in the options. But the normal assumption is, I accidentally click on a link with my hot wallet that is connected to the internet, and or I mint an NFT, or I try to claim an airdrop that is getting control of my wallet. Well, whoever hacked me is never going to choose to like give control to my other cold wallet that was set up ahead of time, or to give control to like my parents or siblings or somebody, right? Because they want control of the wallet. So that's the idea there.
Maddie, can I ask you, are these smart contracts able to blacklist malicious addresses if there are cases that could possibly have a malicious actor involved within them?
Normally you would just not share your key with somebody that you don't want to access it.
Okay, fair enough.
Stupid question. Is this something that could be translated to be able to shift our HEX into and have the same extra layer of security with HEX?
Theoretically, yes.
Okay.
Probably.
You can build a HEX stake inside of a smart contract.
Correct. Obviously.
So that does work. So that's interesting. One of my concerns would be, can this be used for bad? Can a bad guy, can a scammer guy, set up a smart contract, release his seed to the wild, his seed phrase or his private key to the wild, so that when other people try to send ETH in, it just immediately sends that ETH elsewhere? Is this a tool? The main concern is, okay, these honeypots exist, but it's very hard for these scammers. They have to like write the script. They have to write the code to make these things. But if you have a wallet that easily is a tool that you can just download and then you can use it for bad as well, is that a risk? Is this something that we have to consider?
I'm not sure how it would be any worse than the current system, but I think that, if, you could always play the what if game, or you could always find a situation. Like, for example, if the person that you're trusting is one of your social recovery people that you're actually giving too much permission to is the person who's hacking you, then you could say that's being used for bad. If a hacker is giving out their own private key to people who don't understand that they're using a wallet that somebody else has control of, then that's just the normal situation that we already have in crypto, where uneducated people are likely to fall victim to scammers. But the fact that these smart vaults are likely to be giftable also creates some interesting dynamics in terms of being able to onboard people and being able to like kind of set a drip for other people. Like, you could give your kid who goes off to college like a thing that pays them every week, and they have control of it. And if they get compromised, then the control can be kicked back to you, but they could be in charge of whether the control gets kicked back to you, because the hacker would never kick the control back to you. Only they would if they got hacked. So that's a good example. Maybe you have a more specific example in your mind of how.
So
how
what I've seen is sometimes you go in a Telegram room and there's somebody who's pretending to be a noob to crypto that says, "Oh, can somebody help me? I'm having trouble with my MetaMask. Here's my public address, and they'll post their private key. Okay. And then what happens is you have a Telegram room full of thousands of people. And those people are normally good, but all of a sudden there's a private key right in front of them. So what happens is hundreds of people say, ooh, if I'm the first one to grab this private key and stick it in a wallet, I can see what's in this wallet. These people go to those wallets. There's actual crypto in there, sometimes 20, 30, 40 grand worth of crypto, but there's zero gas. So then those people say, ooh, I want to get all this crypto out. And they have a moment of weakness where they turn into a bad guy themselves. They try and steal the 40K. So they send ETH to that address, but there's a smart contract inside that address that immediately, the second that ETH hits the address, sends it to a new address. Now, for those, so the scammer just pretends to be somebody new and preys on people's weakness of people trying to steal from them. And in turn, the scammer's actually stealing a bunch of gas from thousands of people. So that's called a honeypot. Now, if this wallet is able to do that easily, that would be my only concern that I see so far. Because what you could see is people use it for good, for things like you said, which are cool, like an annuity to your kids or something like that. But will people also grab this wallet and say, ooh, I can make this cool thing with no gas, and if somebody sends ETH in, it sends it somewhere else? And then it's just an easy tool for a scammer to use. That would be my only concern.
It sounds like the thing that already exists, the current crypto system, like, would make that easier. In our case, all those people who are being tested as to whether they're good guys or bad guys and they're going to steal the money, like they would all be submitting withdrawal requests, and that would start a 7-day timer. And then, you could still have somebody having a smart, contract stealing the ETH from the people trying to steal the funds from other people. But I mean, that seems like a kind of an edge case in some ways. Like, I mean, people are already doing that. So I don't think they would use our system to do that because it's not as easy. It's not the low hanging fruit.
Will you have a testnet version we can play with before the mainnet version?
That seems like something that would be the only responsible thing to do.
Right. All right.
Maddie, could I ask actually a few questions? A couple of people actually messaged me on Twitter asking if I could ask questions on their behalf. So the first question is from actually in the chat, Brizology. He asked if I could ask you, can you please ask what is the max length of the stake? Is it 5555? That's the first question.
It's not capped at 15.2 years. There's no cap.
Okay. The second question is let's say, you talk about, you said before, the kid going away to college, and not every individual is able to check their wallets consistently. Is there a possibility to have maybe a notification feature built in where if something is trying to interact with your wallet, almost like as if you have a transaction on your bank account and you get a text message saying, was this your transaction? Is that possible to integrate as well?
That's highly possible.
Okay.
Because you want to get a notification if somebody else is trying to hack you, so that you use your 7 days wisely to like flip that one switch.
Okay. And I don't want to take up more. I have one question from KG and one from KDP, and then I'll shut my mouth, I promise. How many contracts will you be deploying? For instance, will there be a separate contract purely for additional security layer and one for game theory, and the user can choose which they want to utilize?
The front end would give you all the options you need, and the rest is probably too technical for people.
Okay. And my next question from KG is, can you ask about the 5-minute window and how the 1% comes into play?
Yeah, so that's the part that's still kind of being finalized. And the idea is that we wanted a way to make it so that people could kind of get this for free. but also a way that people could kind of pay us for our efforts and everything. And so that's where the 1% comes in, where, normally for me, if I'm doing a transaction on MetaMask, and, sometimes I'll pay a little fee here and there in different places. It seems like the RH wallet game theory that, might end up, coming out eventually would have some sort of fee associated with the wallet, like MetaMask does. And that's kind of like a convenience thing, but we wanted to make it a way that it would still be a really positive thing to market. And at the same time, it's like, it's showing you that you can pay yourself if you just want to be patient, and that you can practice that, and that it pays to wait. And so, yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. Those are my questions that I got from the community. Thank you so much.
There's one more catch. So, it already sounds too good to be true, but so we're thinking of making it so that the 1% fee that you pay to yourself, even if you don't pay it to us, would be paid in HEX.
Okay.
To kind of like as an homage to like the HEX ecosystem of like time locking, like to like give credit where credit is due. Like, everybody who pretty much sacrificed for PulseChain and PulseX, they all like HEX. So why not, like pump people's bags a little bit? Why not make it so that HEX people win too?
Absolutely.
And HEX is meant to be the reserve currency, right? Like that's the sort of the future aim. So it makes sense that you would use that currency for something like fees.
It's just interesting that that's the catch, is like, if you don't like HEX, you still have to pay the 1% fee to yourself in HEX. So too bad. Like, you're going to learn to like HEX one way or another.
Can we talk about the savior, or like, so, say I set my wife up as the designated person to have whatever go to in a worst case scenario. How many of those people will there be? Is there just one per stake? Can you have multiple per stake? How will those people be able to help? That may have already been answered. I may have missed this.
That's a great question. I don't think I specifically answered that. It's the minimum would be that you have your own private key set up through MetaMask or another, wallet that you choose. And then you would also have like a password, basically, that you would add on, that's not part of whatever system you're already using. So you're entering this into like our front end, and then you would have the option of adding on more permissions beyond that. What types of permissions might you add on? You might add on your own cold wallet that doesn't ever touch the internet. And so that's something that, you're trying to protect for this situation where your hot wallet gets compromised and now you want to do something about it. So that would be one thing that would be an option. And then you would also have the option of adding more permissions, maybe of people that are not you. And so that might be, somebody else that that has a public address. Well, you would hope, and you would want to know that they have their keys backed up, and then you could add them, and you could choose what kind of permissions you give them. So you could, but it's all up front. So you could choose that, like, only if you don't have any activity for a year, does this, public address get this type of permission. You could set it up as like a social recovery. So you need 2 out of 3 of the people that you're involving. So there's a variety of things that people could choose as the extra layers of security.
Are there any additional features that you're thinking of that you haven't released to the public yet?
There's some stuff, if you thought about it long enough, you'd be like, how are you going to do that? And we've like solved that, but I don't want to like give away all the answers now. So that so we've pretty much covered all of like the main points. But if there's anything you're like, I don't think that's possible, then like I could tell you it is.
And this will launch when Pulse launches?
No expectations. Code is hard.
It is
the code's in production, so it's not like
Okay.
just an idea. Fashion coder, what questions do you have?
Okay, thanks for calling on me. I think your project's cool. It's very interesting listening to just what it is, just from like a development standpoint of just your product plans. How long has this been in the works?
Good question. I would say it's been at least a year that I've been talking about like, hey, we need to have a better situation. We have to have a better solution if people get hacked. We have to have a better solution if somebody dies. Like, where does their crypto go? But I think the time locking thing, I can't really put my finger on exactly when I just really identified that this would be probably like the most valuable thing to build for PulseChain and PulseX. But I guess I definitely like got more and more excited about it in the past month.
Cool.
Because I realized like that the game theory could actually be translated into code and that was possible. So
Absolutely. How many developers do you have working on it?
As Richard would say, you only need one who's in God mode to really like have something that's it's probably better than having multiple devs actually.
Oh, I totally agree.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so just like quick summary of everything. What are the 3 main benefits of this? Just so we know that going forward.
I would say it allows you to withstand like the 70% dips and the 10x rips, and allows you, it allows people who are poor to hold on to their mad gains longer. So the time locking is a major thing. I would say the security is a major thing of being able to, in some cases, recover your wallet back from a hacker. And then I would also say like it helps pump the HEX price and the PulseChain and the PulseX price, because the 1% is going into HEX, and because the fewer coins that are available for people to sell, the more scarce they are. And so the more buy pressure that comes in, the more of an effect that has.
Cool. Well, thanks.
When you say the 1% is going into HEX, but what's being used to buy that?
Whatever you're time locking.
Right. So if people have Pulse, and I mean, it balances out, right? They're dumping Pulse to purchase HEX.
Yeah, I think that time locking is like more of a pumpamental than anything. So like so I think it like actually works out for everybody to win. I mean, because it's like, yeah, you're getting rid of 1%, but like you're time locking for so long that on average that it seems like that would really balance itself out, and to where people so the HEX price is winning, and even if you waited 6 months or something, like the Pulse price, like how many days does it take to like smooth out a 1% sell?
Right. Just understand where I'm coming from when I say that. Like,
sure,
if the primary thing that's being used to buy that HEX is Pulse, we can be really happy that we're pumping the price of HEX, but simultaneously we're also dumping Pulse in an equal ratio. So just bear that in mind.
Yeah, I mean, like of the percent, like of the crypto that's being dumped, like 99 times more of that is getting time locked. So I think it shouldn't be too bad.
Maddie, a question from the community that they highlighted that they wanted me to ask for them. Dev Huey asked me to ask you, can you ask what are the series of events if a individual dies and I have this vault per se? Like what happens?
That'd be a situation where you would hope the person who set up the vault like put together instructions or put together a social recovery system.
Okay.
So that would be where the permissions that you programmed in at the beginning, those would come into effect, or it just acts like any other crypto would act, where like hopefully your loved ones can find your private keys and know what to do with them and not give them to a hacker and like all that good kind of stuff.
Okay.
Can you talk through an example of social recovery? What exactly that would look like the steps? Say my wife wants to gain access to my wallet or something. Like, what does that look like? How does this work?
Well, what permissions are you giving her at the beginning?
What are my choices in the smart contract?
So you could say that if you flip a switch with your private key, that her private key would get control based on her public address. You could say that there would have to be a certain amount of time that your account was dormant for that to occur.
Okay, that's interesting. So could I make it where she tries to gain access for 3 months or something and triggers something with her wallet? And if my wallet doesn't do something, doesn't trigger back for a period of 3 months, then you could assume I'm dead, right? And the smart contract would
or in jail
grant full access to her at that point.
Yeah, so that would be a more that would be a different system than just giving her your private key, which is cool, I think.
So, Maddie, I have a person in my chat right now that's saying, and maybe you can comment on this, the additional layer of SEC could be cool, but the additional lines of codes could also be additional attack vectors. So if there was different contracts deployed, the user could choose what they wish to utilize. Could there be a utilization mechanism, I guess, is what they're asking?
So I think what you're asking is about like contract risk.
Yes.
And like this would have to be audited like excessively, but probably could be done by the community and, you know, whoever else. Like that hasn't been decided yet, but like,
okay.
I don't think that it's as complex as things that are already out there, surprisingly enough. Like all we're doing is like time locking and like giving some permissions. So take that how you will.
No, thank you for the response, man. I appreciate it.
Cabana.
Hello.
Hey.
How you doing?
Good.
Good. First of all, thanks for putting this little thing together. Kind of like this, kind of like 60-minute panel kind of thing. No questions from me, really. I like the concept of it. I want people to use it because I think, you know, as you spelled out, you know, a lot of people wish that they held their Bitcoin, you know, and were required to do so. Not required to do so, but you used a locking mechanism. My thing goes back to Johnny in the last panel. So it's like you can give people a hammer, but, you know, half of them will hit themselves in the head with it, or 90% or whatever. So it's like, okay, we have this wonderful tool for people that can actually be of great benefit. What can we do to actually make them use it? Because I mean, the idea is great, but it's like, is it the angle that we take in talking about it? So instead of, you know, saying, hey, you can just use this to lock your coins, how about the firewall feature, which I think is great. And I think people would understand and make a lot of people feel more safe about that, and secure. And then, maybe that's a vector, in to get people to use it. I'm just skeptical of a lot of people who would greatly benefit by this, just being like, yeah, I don't need that. I'm, my hands are diamond, we're good. So that's the one thing.
I think that I think it's not gonna be hard for people to understand. I think that there's gonna be a lot of people who don't do it and a lot of people who do. I think that if Richard promotes it heavily and the community promotes it heavily, then that will get people into it. But
I think, just also, I mean, in conjunction with it though, like the firewall feature, I think it is great because that will speak to another set of people in itself.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that is definitely, catches more ears, other than, oh, you can, lock your stuff down and, it's up to you. And then the timing thing. So I'm just thinking of like carrot dangling kind of things because, I just want, more users. So the Motley kind of thing with the pool, I thought that was a cool idea. And I guess the only other thing is like the 5-minute thing. It seems a little short. So maybe like 3 hours, 69 minutes or something like that. So yeah.
That's really 4 hours.
Well, that's what I'm saying though. 409, but just say 3 hours, 69 minutes. So.
Maddie, Falcon Crypto asked me to ask on his behalf. Can you ask Maddie if there is still time to add some type of incentive mechanisms?
It's the carrot, man.
Well, remember what he said. You can still delegate.
So I know. I'm just asking on people's behalfs.
So what I imagine is, like, it would be cool if the validator website had like an option where you could just lock up for a period of time, so that when you delegate, it's just locked. You can't touch it, just like a stake. But it doesn't have that. But with this tool, you could just use this tool to do the same thing. Say, I'm going to delegate for 6 months, and I'm going to lock it and not touch it. So that's cool. The one issue with that is you've got 33 or more validators. And if there's too many people in one, the yield is going to be really good on the other ones, and it's going to suck on the one that everyone's locked up on, right? So
you can switch. Earlier, you can switch your validator while you're still locked in Smart Vault.
All right, so that's perfect. Yeah, so lock your stuff up and commit to validate and
so yeah, you could have your Pulse Chain and Pulse X. Well, really, if we're talking about validating and voting, we're talking about Pulse Chain tokens. But those, they can be locked, and then you can add, a delegation. You can vote for a validator, and it's just every day you could change it. You could change it to a different validator because the system, makes you wait a day to change to a different validator. Or you could keep it the same the whole time, or you could just say like, I don't want to validate or I don't want to vote for anybody right now. And that can all be changed like normal.
Remember the coin term never selling?
Uh-huh.
So that takes many forms, right? So I am a fan of like the native gas coin of the chain is likely to appreciate a lot, That'd
be cool.
So why would you ever want to sell that? So if you have a tool that allows people to lock it up and just build some smart contracts that say, here's what I want to happen with that, and here's how I want to protect myself. Okay, cool. They're locking their stuff up. There's obviously other tools like delegating on the chain and other protocols. You can also lock up your stuff. The more, the better. If everybody locked up all their pulse and there's just enough pulse out there to cover gas, like nobody's selling, right? But you still have to have trade on the chain, right? But if the biggest holders, which is probably the sacrifice set, are the ones who are locking up all their stuff, that's a good thing.
I think like one of the defaults that I might want to see in our tool is for people's savings to drip out like daily or weekly. Just because that's going to smooth out the selling more. And like remember, like if your coins drip out weekly, if you pay yourself every week on a 10-year stake, and you maybe you go in every month, maybe you're on vacation or you're busy, or you just want to wait a little bit longer, and you can let those coins build up for 4 weeks and then withdraw. You send the withdrawal request, wait 7 days, and then take out the amount of time that you've served because you chose that interval yourself. You can always take those coins out, and then you can hard lock them for 20 years if you wanted to. So it's just I think having the default, and people just have to change the setting. They have to move the dial or whatever it is. But to have more people thinking along those lines at first gives people more of a chance to like not accidentally lock up all their coins for 20 years and then be like, oops, or something. I don't know. I think it would just smooth out the sell-in more too.
I have a question if I could. So, obviously it sounds like you've been in contact with Richard about this, and has he given any input, or how deep does he go into what you've given him? Does he have all the alpha? Like, if you don't want to release alpha to us, have you released alpha to him? Are there things that we're not asking that he did ask? Like, how closely is he involved in all of this, and on what level?
So I talked to him verbally about the time locking aspect of PulseChain and PulseX, and he said he really liked it. I didn't go into all the security things at the time because it was like a number of weeks ago now. So some of that stuff, like, we just kind of discovered that it could be done once we started designing like how the time locks would work. It was like, what's our dream list of like all the things we wish we could do with time locks? And it's like inheritance, gifting, recovery from a hacker, having an interval drip. Like, those are the main things that we realized were possible. But the starting point that I went over with Richard was really time locking. And at the time I was having a moral crisis to decide whether I should do a 0.5% fee and just have it be that simple of like, you pay us 0.5%. And I was surprised that he wasn't opposed to that. But now I thought of a cooler way to like have it more up to the user and up to whether they're demonstrating patience or not.
Yeah, it's my understanding he's always been okay with tools and services and charging of fees for access to those tools and services. He doesn't necessarily promote other coins or like protocols and stuff, but there are a number of tools, such as Staker app, for example, that does charge a fee that is perfectly acceptable, and he's okay with those things. But he rarely, if ever, will talk about other stuff besides his own.
I mean, he talks about Uniswap, right?
Mm-hmm.
He talks about Matcha. He talks about things that are like, the things
Tools
that are so
services.
good for people.
Right.
And the game theory is so aligned with everybody's incentives that like it just makes sense to promote it because it helps like his product so much. And I realized like that the community has been having like a crisis in terms of promoting things that might not be as good for people, and people are just bored and shiny object syndrome, and like people are falsely claiming that Richard is supporting the things that they're doing and all that. So like I really want people to like not focus on what I said about that, about like Richard saying that that he liked the idea, because you should be thinking for yourself. And like, if he wants to promote it publicly, he can. But right now, the code isn't released, so there's nothing really for him to weigh in on at his level. But I think that the more that people get involved, we can promote the game theory. You all can hold me accountable for what I've said. And, you know, if we get people in the Telegram and the Twitter and everything, I mean, HEX, the game theory was released before the code was, and the community started developing. And that's how I'd like this to go as well. Now, Tangent is going to, you know, like rip me a new one and, you know, tell me what he really thinks. So I want to hear that for sure.
Does it have? Do you have a token? Does it have a token?
No.
No. So that significantly limits the number of like accusational vectors.
Very true.
Massively. The majority of accusations against new projects from a maxi point of view, Bitcoin maxi point of view. So Bitcoin maxis would applaud you. I'm saying that as a representative of the Bitcoin maxis. No token is legit. I think the thing that I like the most about this project is the inheritance planning. So some might say, look, from a security point of view, just don't be a dumbass. Like there's already a solution. Don't be a dumbass. But with the inheritance one, it's not like, oh, just don't die. Like that's not, do you see what I'm saying? So I think that's probably the one that's got my interest the most heavily. And yeah, I don't see any issues.
Cool.
Hey, Maddie, I like the idea of standing up on your own two legs, which I think you can do with this.
Yeah.
So it's a good warm and fuzzy to get a blessing of approval from Richard. But if we all take a step back and we say, well, what if Richard had done that with Vitalik when he made HEX? That would just be weird and like weak. Like if there's a good thing, you don't need a single other person, just one individual to say, yes, I like that, right? If it's a mutable code, if it works, if it does exactly what it's supposed to do, the community will embrace it, whether one single guy says it's cool or not.
Yeah, I got like mixed thoughts about it. You know, I definitely think that this can stand on its own. I also think that like I really admire and respect Richard, and you know, he's like my hero, and I like accidentally started following in his footsteps because like I was already wanting to make self-help videos, and now like I'm speaking in Dublin for the Sens Foundation, you know, and stuff. And so it's like weird. Okay, now I'm like, you know, designing game theory to, you know, put into code and all that kind of stuff. And so it's like seems very natural that it'll be, you know, in the right tradition, and that, you know, I'm always going to give him props for, you know, everything that he's led me to.
But just to clarify, you don't need his approval. If this is awesome and it's badass and it does everything it's supposed to, you don't need him to say one single word. The community will embrace it.
Very true.
That's why, like on my channel, I've been so open to not promoting, but giving third-party projects a platform since the beginning, because I believe the market and the community will speak for itself. If people love the project, they'll love the project with or without Richard's approval. And I find that to be a universality going forward as well. So, you know, I agree with that sentiment as well.
But if you can get an endorsement from the God Founder,
oh, of course,
you're going to take it.
I'm not. It's never bad.
Somebody said in the chat, as long as RH doesn't denounce it.
Yeah,
he's done that to a couple, and if he says something's, you know, shit, then you're gonna have a bad time.
True.
You've come a long way, Maddie. It's cool to see how you've grown with the community. It's awesome, man.
For real.
Developing like game theory code. Like, come on. That's awesome.
That's
dude.
huge.
That's awesome. Yeah. Super awesome. And for nothing. Doing it in the best interest of the community.
It's not for nothing, man. Yeah. I'm going to get a 1% fee off those lazy people.
Good man. Good man.
No, but you've been doing a lot for this community, and we all got to salute you. You know, it's very important to look at others who have done so much and try to emulate what they've done to expand this community. So I personally agree with Freddie on that as well. So keep doing what you're doing.
Well, I haven't had anything to do with the events that are happening in Vegas. and from what I hear, the community really stepped up. And even when things went wrong, people, showed their leadership and their true colors, funding Jim, Freddie, and KSB TV, and probably lots of other people that I haven't been able to keep up with because of what I've been working on. That's really admirable. And I just made the decision earlier today that I'm going to go out to Vegas and kick it with you guys. So
I shall meet you
just
there.
made my day. You just made my day, buddy.
Maddie, thank you. Maddie, can I say thank you?
Yeah.
That this is not a proof of weak hands. 5% tax in, 5% tax out. Stay tuned for it. Right?
Did
There's
you
a lot
ever
of
doubt
things
me?
coming out. Tools and services, like these are the things, like you said, Uniswap. There's others. There's Curve. There's Maker. There's you've got Staker app. Of course, Hex. There's all sorts of stuff out there that's like a tool, or a service, and it's okay that those charge fees. But if a protocol launches and the only use case it is to take money from other people and try and give it to you, and vice versa, and the first one out wins, that's not a tool or a service that's going to be around very long. And this is something that is a service that people will poke around with and use, likely, throughout the years, if done correctly. So thanks for it not being a proof of weak hands thing.
You're welcome. Yeah, thanks for keeping me accountable, because I don't think anybody would really let me get away with something like that. So.
I have a question.
I think what Jesse's saying is thanks for not selling out.
Yes. My pleasure.
What's to stop or prevent somebody else from building an incentive on top of Maddie's product?
That's one of the cool things we solved.
Okay.
So, I mean, I guess you can make your own thing, but we have so many cool things that we're building into this. It's just like, it would be very, very hard to compete, because we have some ways to do this better than other people would probably do it. Because it's not just the idea that like time locking is going to be so valuable, but there's a certain implementation. There were a lot of things I think that we invented to implement this that aren't obvious.
So it sounds like
talked
there's
about the
more
UI
that you're not telling us about.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. They're.
And is that because you
there's
don't
some
want to
big
front
things.
run or have other people front run you before you guys come out or release, or
Yeah.
stuff you're just trying to keep under the table? So kind of like Liquid Loans is doing, where they didn't release information, right? Because they just, I think that's what Liquid Loans did. They just didn't release some of the information because they didn't want other people to come out and front run and try to steal their ideas, right?
Yeah.
Am I wrong,
Probably.
Jesse?
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the reason. By the way, that front end, it should be available within like a week, from what I'm told from the founder. But many protocols do that. Like you do see the same with Power City. Power City is holding some things close to their chest because there's tools that have never been used before for an NFT platform, that if those secrets were revealed, well, there's like 5 other NFT platforms on the PulseChain that would immediately say, "Ooh, that's a great idea," and they just add it to their code.
Absolutely.
So why would you release secrets ahead of time?
Maddie, you did something before too, where if someone was a speaker at one of your conferences, I think you sent them an NFT, or there was something, right, where they can't sell it, it can't be traded. Could you maybe, and I saw this as a question in the chat earlier when I was watching before we came on, is there a way that you could develop like rewards for like, oh, here's a 1 year, a 5 year, a 10 year, a 20, a 30 year, an NFT that someone could get that they wouldn't sell, but I don't know, maybe like, AA, like people go to AA meetings and they get tokens, and it incentivizes them to keep coming back. They want that token. They want that token. They want that token. Is there a way that you could do something like that where it wouldn't actually have any value? They wouldn't be able to trade it, but they would have something that said, hey, I did it for this long. I did it for that long.
Are you trying to convince him to add a token to this thing?
It's just a question. I saw it in the chat earlier and I was like, that's actually not a bad idea, but you don't want to add a token because whatever reason. But if there's something that would incentivize people that didn't have value that they would never be able to sell. Is that something that you would not want to do?
I think that maybe sometime far in the future when, the Smart Vault.me product was already released and everything, I think that it'd be cool to build on some sort of like social verification layer, maybe where, you could brag about having a certain amount, but you could choose how much to disclose, basically. Like
Gotcha.
Like you could mint an NFT that shows you that you have at least this much in TShares or in Pulse or PulseX or something, but that, that you wouldn't have to say exactly how rich you are if you didn't want to. It'd be like, your option with, and that's really, I think, how like built-in privacy on the blockchain should work, is like, you should have the option to prove what you've done, but that doesn't necessarily need to be the default if you have smart contracts that are owning stuff instead of addresses that are not smart contracts. So I think we could get there, but we're pretty decided on the fact that we're not building a token. We're not like going to build something that we say is like, it's not tradable, but then somebody develops a way to like trade the, like the points or something, because people would be able to do that with some of the stuff that we'd build. So it's just better to let the reward be the massive gains that you get from time locking. And if you don't understand that, then you probably didn't do so well with HEX, or you're new, and then you still have a chance to like learn that and get it right. But not everybody is going to choose that. And it's like building game theory in a system where people can choose if they want to be short term, like everybody locking up their coins and then not selling if the price suddenly goes up, that benefits the short-term people and the long-term people probably. So it's like, that's the most powerful game theory, is when you have more people winning than ever. And so that's kind of the goal.
You'll be in Vegas on Sunday?
What day is Sunday?
I think it's the 4th.
It is.
So I fly in, I think, on Sunday or Monday. Let me
Beautiful.
check.
So you'll be there Monday night?
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
Are you going to come check out the DJ Lethal concert?
I don't even know like what all the events are, but I want to.
I'll send you a thing. I'll send you a thing. We got some really cool events going on.
Party. That's it.
Do you guys want to show like what the events are before we bring on the next panel?
We definitely can. So I think it all kicks off with the Crypto Sparbook Million Pulse Tour golf tournament. There's an AM and a PM tournament. Crypto Sparbook and Kay, like, they've done an awesome job getting that coordinated. If you're not playing, you can come be a spectator and get food and raffles and giveaways, all sorts of stuff. So even if you don't golf, everyone can be involved in that. And then Monday night is the penthouse party. Tuesday is the Rec Pleb pool party, which I have an extra ticket if you need to come to the pool party for our cabana. Tuesday night, there's something going on, but I don't know about that. I need to talk to Jesse about that. Something else. But Wednesday
I think it's a backyard bars and billiards. DJ Lethal
Wednesday
concert.
night.
That's cool.
Dude, Wednesday's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be so friggin' cool, man. Like, I cannot wait to go. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Jesse.
I'll see you guys at the Pulse Masters golf. I'll be spectating, and then I'll be at the penthouse party Monday, and then I'll be one of those plebs that sneaks into Tuesday's pool party without a ticket. No, I'm kidding.
Awesome. You don't know. You can sneak in as long as you're staying at the resort. You can get into the pool.
Oh, cool. Okay, that's where I'm staying.
Anybody can get in. Yeah. So, but the DJ Lethal party on Wednesday is going to be legit because Susan is doing all of her merch, and there's like this big fashion show, and all these people like Jim Rat, like all these HEX influencers are going to be like models. Yeah, Crypto Sparbug. Like they're gonna be SJ. Like they're all models in the fashion show. And while the fashion show is going on, Black Crypto, Corey, and I are going to be doing a concert at the same time, and we're all going to be up on stage all at the same time because we've all done songs together. So I'll do a song, and then Corey does a song, and then Casey does a song, and then Casey and Corey do one of their songs, and then Casey and I do one of our songs together, and then like the whole lineup, man, it's going to be awesome. It's legit a concert while the fashion show is going on. It's going to be super hype. And then DJ Lethal comes on after that. And then the Crystal Method comes on after that. So, but
it's going to be awesome,
man. I am looking forward to that.
And then Boxable's showing up with a tiny home. They partnered with Power City, coming to PulseChain to bring real estate to like redeemable NFTs for real estate or for tiny homes, which is actually a big deal. It's like a step forward, like next generation stuff for like what NFTs could evolve into. They're going to be there. $1 billion company. They're showing up with a sample of a piece of tiny home.
Cool.
So it's going to be
Freddie,
cool.
you've just given me mad FOMO, man.
A ton of people are going to be there.
What's up, everybody?
Yo.
Hey, what's good?
Oh, I better lower some volume things here.
What up, K for K? What up?
Any background noise? Oh, I got it. There we go. Howdy, howdy. Everybody hear me?
What's going on? So you're maybe coming in early for the third panel, and welcome.
I caught a little bit. I caught your whole initial spiel, and then also just some here and there of people's responses. But
awesome.
overall,
Well, I'm going to
really
pick your
smart.
brain while we're bringing up the next panel. But if that's okay, then let's just have everybody who's on here now go ahead and tell us how to find you so that we can make sure that we can get the panel switched.
Sure. You mean what, like my channels or something?
So everybody who is finishing their panel, starting with Jesse, how can we find you?
Yeah, Twitter primarily. I'm everywhere, but you can reach me easiest on Twitter. Just ask Jesse. And I'm pretty busy planning a lot of this Vegas stuff. Also, which a lot of these events are sponsored or hosted by Power City. So that's Twitter, Power City IO. And you can find us there too.
I am everywhere at Freddie Quotes, Twitter _ Freddie Quotes _
Cabana?
Oh, sorry, I was waiting on Fashion Twitter. Cabana Crypto, all channels right here. Like Funding Jim said in the first panel, there are like also for imposters on Instagram. So Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, properly spelled Cabana Crypto. So check it out.
Me?
Yep.
So you could find me, literally, I'm on my YouTube channel right now, Corey Costa's Crypto Coins. And on Twitter, you can find me at Corey Costa 123, COREY COSTA 123. And those are both my links. I don't have anything else besides Twitter and YouTube. But yeah, consider subscribing to the channel. I try to do interviews every other day with some prominent folks.
Right on.
Nice. For me, Fashion Coder on YouTube and Fashion Coder 6 on Twitter. And if you guys are going to be in Vegas, come and see me because I actually have something for everyone. And thanks so much, Maddie.
There's a lot of Hexkins. You got something for everyone? Everyone? All right.
And I did notice mine's been cut off by the border. So I'm at HEX _tangent on Twitter. Thanks for having me, Maddie. It's been fun. It's been really cool chilling with all of you.
Likewise.
I mean, I guess I get to double shill because I get to do it this time and the next panel. So, but I didn't know you were going to add me in early. But yeah, K4K Crypto, make YouTube videos. I'm branching out to almost every social that exists except for like Snapchat, I guess, and WhatsApp. So like if anybody pretends to be K4K talking about WhatsApp, like every comment under anything on every YouTube video, like I even have people in my who moderate my YouTube who have a bot that runs and deletes all potential scam stuff. But there's so much, it's ridiculous. So If it looks like K4K Crypto DM'd you, probably not me. So do not affiliate.
That's when you know you made it, though. When you start getting copycats, you made
There's
it.
so many copy accounts. It's ridiculous. Man. Anyway, but yeah, K4K Crypto everywhere. It's on Twitch, Facebook. There's a Facebook group and everything. There's a Reddit, all that stuff. There's Discord, so you can find me there.
Well, thank you so much to this prestigious panel. You all like do so much for the community. So thank you for what you do. And everybody make sure to follow everybody here on the screen for sure. So thanks.
Thanks,
Maddie.
Maddie.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Bye.
Ooh. Bye, everybody. I mean, I'm staying, but yeah.
Nice.
You guys did a stream together the other day. I listened to it all. It was really good.
The dynamic duo. Thanks.
Why am I still here?
I just yeeted himself out of there.
Nice. How's it going, guys?
What's up? Yeah, Gerardo and I had a good stream the other day. I'm gonna have, well, actually, my editors are already chopping it up to get some good, clips from there because we talked about some stuff that's pretty interesting that no one else really talks about. So, might want to check that one out.
Definitely.
Don't forget to tag me.
And also check out Gerardo, like all of his stuff. I mean, if you watch those clips, they'll probably show like going to look into hex.com and stuff. All of that is Gerardo, and he's awesome. So
you're awesome. Thanks, man.
I can't wait to see everybody in Vegas.
Right,
I'm so glad Maddie's coming. I just heard that news as I was
Yeah.
listening earlier. So
that's news to me too, man. I'm excited.
Just booked my flight today.
Dude,
Nice.
you're gonna be so much more relaxed because it's not your convention.
Yeah.
Right? So you'll be like, dude,
Oh,
we're
for
gonna
sure.
see Maddie balling out.
That's right.
Party animal.
Yeah.
Shaking his hair.
I don't have to behave myself this time.
What's up, gentlemen?
What's up?
How's everything going?
What's up?
Hey.
Hello.
What's going on, guys?
Wait, is this? Oh, I mean, every panel is just like I can't believe you can get so many people to come to your stuff. I think it's awesome. Not that I don't think
He offered me
you
cheese
couldn't,
sandwiches.
but I think it's awesome.
Thank you. Well, this community has a really deep bench of all-stars, so it's we're lucky.
We drink
Richard
a lot
Hart
of Red
brings
Bull.
out the best in us.
Glad to be here, man. Glad to be here. It's I've been listening in on all the everything you've been announcing. I mean, I'm almost more intrigued by everything you haven't announced, man. It's just exciting.
Yeah, it's all up to your imagination then.
I tried to build up this suspense until today, and there were some people who definitely were doubting me, thinking that I was going to release a coin or something like that. But that's
Maddie,
not the
I was
case.
promised this. Where's this coin I can chill? What happened, Maddie?
I know, right?
Yeah, you know how much I love free coins.
Well, this is something else that's going to unlock a lot of value. And did anybody not hear what the pitch is so far? Or is everybody up to speed? Okay. So the idea here is that I'm releasing a tool that is, the code is in production, but right now I'm talking about the game theory because, Richard Hart started talking about the HEX game theory before it was released. And I think it's just good for people to be able to plan ahead and to understand it and give their input. The idea is that the tool will allow you to time lock your Pulse chain and your Pulse X tokens. The reason why that's so valuable is because we know that it's been really valuable for people to do that with HEX. And even though my protocol will not pay out a yield, there's not going to be anything duct taped on. It's different than HEX in that regard. However, there are added security features and added time locking options. And so you can do like the total time lock is one thing, but then you can have an interval timer. So you can pay yourself out weekly or monthly or quarterly on a drip, basically. And or you can set the interval timer to be the same as the max length timer. And so it if you're doing a time lock for 1 year, you could have the interval be 1 year, or if it's a 10-year stake, then you could put the interval at 10 years. But if you do a 10-year stake and your interval is weekly or monthly, then you're able to unlock the amount that you've served at any time. However, one of the security features is that when you make a withdraw, it starts a 7-day clock. And if at any time you think that you've been hacked, you can flip a switch to give control to somebody else that you've pre-selected. And the reason why that's so cool is that the hacker would never choose to give control to somebody else. And so that's where if my private key has been compromised, then I get to recover that account probably because I can flip the switch that the hacker wouldn't ever want to flip. And if they did, it benefits me anyway. They just, locked themselves out. So
that feature is super cool. Honestly, that's like on the first way I looked at the Gnosis safe idea. I mean, I understood that there was things that they could build into it, like, similar ideas, but like this is an actual implementation that I think is super useful. Super useful. I mean, there's no other way to say it.
Cool. So why do you go with the like one? And how does that 1% thing work? Because I saw people asking you questions like, so you have to dump 1% of your bag of Pulse or PulseX to buy HEX for yourself.
So there's a 1% fee that you can choose to either pay to me, like me and my dev, or you can do like a waiting task that might be like a 5-minute wait. And it simulates how HEX, rewards you to wait, so that if you don't want to pay the 1% fee, you can just choose to wait the exact amount of time that you're supposed to wait. And then if you're, hitting the button on time, then you don't pay a fee at all. It's but the 1% then goes to pay your future self, and that gets turned into HEX and then time locked with whatever like the functions are of your time lock of your PulseChain or your PulseX that you're doing within that stake.
So is the fee on the back end or the front end, or every time it drips out?
It's whenever you set up a new smart vault stake, that's when you choose whether you want to like practice your patience for 5 minutes or whether you want to pay the 1% fee. And so the fee is paid at that time.
This is the issue.
So it's right on the front end.
Yeah.
Right, the front side.
The only, I guess the issue I see with it is you're kind of forcing people to make a taxable event. And
taxable?
Yeah, because isn't it 1%? It changes your pulse to pulse or PulseX to HEX, so it's a trade. And why can't it just be they get to keep all 100%? Because they're getting the drip anyway, so they're still slowly paying themselves and delaying gratification over time. It just isn't 1% in HEX that is a taxable event. So
can you walk through that? I'm concerned as well, but I'd like to hear it slowly so that we can take that apart together, because there may be a non-issue there, or there may be an issue.
Yeah.
Well, I might be misunderstanding it.
So I haven't really given much thought to like the tax side of things, but I'm open to hearing, like what you guys think the implications or non-implications would be.
Can you walk through the steps and maybe
flag it? So you decide how much of your PulseX or your PulseChain tokens that you want to time lock, and then you play a waiting game. Like if you wait 5 minutes, then you don't pay any fee to the creators, and then the 1% goes into HEX, and so you're paying your future self that amount. If you don't wait exactly 5 minutes or whatever the amount of waiting time is going to be, then whatever percentage of time you were early or late, then that's the percentage that you're giving up of the 1%. So if you don't wait any time, then it's a 1% fee that you're paying to us immediately. If you're waiting half the time, then you're paying 0.5% fee to us and 0.5% fee to yourself and HEX in the future.
May I pass judgment on the first scenario?
Please, that's what you guys are here for.
Okay. So as long as it's established that you've retained the keys and you have access to the wallet itself and the smart contract is what you're interacting with, there's no taxable event if it goes to the creators. But if it changes to HEX and it pays you in the future, there's most definitely a taxable event at that point. So K4K hit it on the head. There's a taxable implication there. The asset is disposed of, transferred into HEX at the going rate. You have anyway, I can go into the craziness into it the way that I understand it, but that's a taxable event. It goes to
Even though
creators,
it's time locked?
Even though it's time locked, because
it's when you swap. You're swapping Pulse for HEX. That happens. So that's
but you don't ever really take dominion of it because
doesn't matter.
Is it
okay?
You've disposed of the asset.
Yeah,
It would have to be in a way where some sort of either a corporation or some sort of entity, it'd have to be changed into basically a fee, into a fee. So that way, you're just, it's like it'd have to be almost classified almost like a gas fee, damn near.
You could call it. I mean, could you call it like a fee and a reward, so that like the taxable event would be on the back end when you get it later on? Like you're paying the fee either way. You're just choosing whether, if you press the button, you're paying the fee to play the game. The mini game is whether you're waiting 5 minutes or not. So either way, you're paying the 1% fee. And then on the back end, if you played the game right, then the contract pays you out, in 15 years.
Why do you pay the fee at the end and not in the beginning?
Well, you would. That's what I'm saying, is you would pay at the beginning, if it goes to the creator, if it goes to them. But if it goes back to you, then you don't get it until the end by what Maddie's saying. So, that's good. That's good. In that case, then that's a deemed sale at $0 at the beginning, even if it doesn't get burned, and then you get it later at $0 cost basis. So you don't pay. It's deferring your taxes until then. That can work. Yeah. So it's just if you're good with the wording, and we talk about it like it's a game, that you're paying to play right then it kind of, I think that you could say that it's all right. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. I moved to Puerto Rico, so I don't have to think about these things. This is not taxable advice. It's not tax advice. Talk to your CPA, work it out, lead them through it, convince them, and then they can stand up for you. That's all we can say, right? Correct. Yes.
I know there was an economics audit for HEX. Is there people who look at contracts like this for tax implications or for other things would be interesting?
That's interesting. I felt like the economics audit was an interesting thing in the beginning, like when HEX got that in general, because dollar cost, you'd probably know this better than most of us. I mean, how many other smart contracts out there get not only code audits, but then also economics audits? I understood the reason for HEX. You had to prove this one, it's a piece of math code, right. Theory that that you cannot compound, that longer always pays better, basically. And that was proved by that.
Almost none of them get economics audits. There's very few. Some of them sometimes get yellow papers, which is basically like a check, like double checking of the math to make sure that the math is very complex and stuff. And even that's rare as well. So there's not many coins that get that.
I mean, I just don't think that there's that many coins out there that require that you're doing something computationally that hadn't been really done before in this inverse compound interest formula that somebody had to derive. That had to be proved to be legit. I mean, I'm sure that there's other game theory that should have an economics audit, but none that I've heard of really.
It's probably a good idea to take it to, I interviewed Carlos Quintino, who's in the community, does taxes for some Mexicans, I think. If you're able to explain the steps, step by step, how it works, like you just did, Maddie, someone like that could take a look at it and say, okay, is this for sure going to happen? Is it not? How can you get around it? Like Papa Boner pointed out, maybe it's a zero cost type of thing too. But definitely, it seems like an important part to get correct with it.
That'd be cool. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up.
1% could be a little, it could be a lot, right? So that depends on how much you're staking, for sure. Yeah, exactly.
So I have a simple question on
Sorry, go ahead.
On the sorry, for the the stake length and the interval length, or are you calling it lock length? If they don't necessarily, how do I say this? If the stake length isn't cleanly divisible by the interval length, is there like a lump sum remainder paid out at the end? Or how does that work? Or
so it's just like, so the interval
Or is it
length is
always
asking,
divisible?
the interval length is asking like, has this amount of time been served yet? And so even if you had a 10-year stake and you said I could withdraw every 3 years, then
Yeah.
it really only means year 3, 6, and 9 that you can withdraw.
And then all the
But-
rest, whatever the
and
other
then all the
division
rest
of
like
it.
has to wait until the end of the 10-year.
Got it. So the remainder
there's
is
no-
lumped until the end. Okay.
May I ask you something on the security side? I don't want to switch gears until you guys have talked about this issue, if anybody wants to talk about it. But I do want to delve into. I've got lots of questions about the security side.
Cool.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Maddie, first, can you define to me what you mean specifically by hack? You've used that statement over the last couple of hours, and I'm unclear as to what you're talking about.
There's not one kind of hack, but like the type that I'm probably referencing more often is the type where just my private key for my hot wallet is compromised and not everything that I used to set up the smart vault is compromised. So in addition to the private key, well, it really doesn't have to be a hot wallet that is creating the smart vault in the first place. Like, it could be a hardware wallet that's connected to MetaMask or whatever. But the idea is that, yeah, you'd be able to, that you're going to add on like a passphrase or a password basically on top of whatever private key you're using. And that's the minimum setup, is that like, yeah.
Okay, I'm just a little bit confused. I'm sorry, and Gerardo may actually need the mic because he's. Yeah, Gerardo may have to leave early, so
Okay.
I would yield to him if he has some other questions for you before I delve deeper into this.
Sure.
Gerardo, he's muted. Maybe that's not a good thing to do. For me to call him out. Okay, fine, then I'll continue. So Maddie, what I'm hearing from you is I'm still a little bit hazy on this. Are you talking about kind of forming a security backstop from something that you used to originate the smart contract, the seed that's generated from the actual mechanism that you're creating, or are you talking about something that someone may have in MetaMask and in conjunction with a hardware wallet, and now they're migrating it over? I'm confused about what you're talking about.
You can't migrate it. This is only for new time locks.
New time locks. Okay, so you've created it in the smart contract, and that seed that it generates, which is basically a single signatory to begin with, like Gnosis Safe, that somehow leaks into the wild because you backed it up digitally and you were frivolous with your seeds, and then you've got the backstop of these new tools that you've created behind. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So the hack then that I'm hearing, and I don't mean to jump to conclusions, but this is exactly what I was worried about, is the biggest hack is a misuse or being frivolous with your seeds and losing them, or not taking security protocols seriously. Your OPSEC is shitty and your seeds go out into the wild, and now this is a morning after pill that you're providing in the digital sense.
Sure.
That's
okay.
That is,
I get it now.
That is well analogized. That is.
Thank you. I understand now what it is. So my next question is, for somebody that's not responsible with their seeds, do you provide a very welcoming way for them to not screw up an even more complex and arcane strategy of that backstop and securing themselves? Because I do this every freaking day with hardware wallets, as you know. And there's like 35 clicks in that setup, how many clicks are you trusting for these noobs or maybe people that have a potential of getting compromised? How easy are you going to make it for them?
Well, I think what he's saying is that like you would provide another wallet address that could be like trusted, you know.
Yeah. Yep.
So like I don't know if he like in a perfect sense they would generate both wallet addresses somewhere totally separate and different on different machines carefully, you know, or something.
Right.
But again, this is like in me and you doing this, not every, you know, new person in the you know, so
Exactly.
but like that would be ideal, and then that way, you know, one could forward to the other. But in like a total noob scenario, like I onboarded you, you are an idiot, so I am putting my wallet address as your backup wallet address, so that like when you do something dumb like lose your keys, I can be your, you know, like what, like I guess that's whatever.
So you're my AA. Yeah, you're my AA sponsor. Yeah, okay,
basically, you know, I'm not. I mean, it's better than nothing when you're like, you know, and somebody's like, I lost my keys. You're like, well,
but that's a novel concept that you can be. Yeah. You can elect a sheep herder of sorts for the sheep that can't be trusted because the wolves are licking their chops around the field. Yeah. Okay, I mean that's an interesting concept. I kind of I think about that.
Yeah, it's really cool because under most circumstances we can assume that the hacker would not want to give control to the person who's been pre-selected, but that I would want to if I've been hacked. And so, that's a switch.
Has control over the keys would be able to push that. You know, so.
Yes, but because the attackers are in our chats and they're watching this stream, that's already been neutralized. Because
kind of, but the thing that Maddie was doing that he said that I do like is that you can't get your money out for 7 days, your coins out for 7 days. So in that period, it's fair game for anyone who has the keys to move those coins to the new wallet. You know, so like. It's kind of like, I mean, that even if somebody's listening and plotting against it, like neither side want, you know,
just
keep that person busy for 7 days. Don't look at your staker app. Don't pay attention over here.
I get it. You know, I was just saying, like the little secret sauce, like an attacker would never send them to some other wallet. Well, or no to send them back to themselves that on another wallet that they control. They would never figure that out from this stream or other, you know,
but even
using it themselves.
No, but even if they
can be public, because
I don't mean to go that far. Yeah.
But even if they knew about it, it wouldn't help them, because why would the hacker give control to somebody else that they don't have hacked already?
Yeah, so unless of course they have both private keys, which
correct.
That's why. That's literally why I said in most circumstances, but not all. Because if the person that's your recovery person is going to hack you anyway, if they're the hacker, is the person who you have pre-selected as your backup security, then you're just in the same place you started. Like,
if your sheep herder is a wolf in sheep's clothing, then like you're screwed to begin with.
You're screwed anyway.
Like, you're screwed either way. So like, you know, so you already have a lot. I mean, that's fair enough. Like, I mean, there's plenty of people that I've onboarded. I mean, dollar cost, I'm sure, you know, is onboarded as well, that are like, please help me here, you know, and need lots of
people are extremely too trusting sometimes in the beginning, where like they can get taken advantage of. And I hate Instagram for this fact. Actually, there's tons of people on Instagram just pretending to
basically unusable. Yeah.
Couldn't you be your own shepherd, and then it's like a safe within a safe? It's like you're your own backstop. Is that the point?
That would be an ideal.
That's another thing I described, is like you have a separate private key, you have a separate cold storage, you know, key that is one, and you can have it in all these different configurations. You can have, you know, the permission going to your cold wallet next, and in the terms of succession, and then like if neither one of those accounts does anything for a year or something, then, you know, it can go to these other people, and it has to be 2 out of 3 of those people. Like you can
chain of custody almost.
Or
like a kind of a multi-sig or whatever.
Yeah.
I see it as a way.
Savvy.
I see it as a way as like you can do like it's almost like a safe within a safe, because if you're pushing out, and I wouldn't do it with my whole stack or anything like that, but some portion where you're like, all right, this is Omega not hackable or something, because it just has a release schedule. And so even depending on how often it comes out, if that one gets compromised for whatever reason, the hacker can only get what's been released, not what is going to be released later. So it kind of protects it that way. Whereas like even a hex stake, they can end it and just blow it up, like happened to Hex 19. Whereas this, you actually have locked funds. They can't move it. The only thing they can do is move it to what is already controlled by you as well. The one removed wallet that you can only send it to. It's a separate one, separate private key that the hacker hasn't hacked, hopefully. Yep. Totally separate. So it's like, yeah, I don't know if that's an improvement on it. Sounds good. Could be good.
I think if you can articulate that, you're not going to have a problem managing your damn
see,
and your passphrase.
For me, I feel like I could click on something, or I could like claim an airdrop that I thought was good, and somebody hacked the front end of it after it had been checked out by Pulse Police or something, and then it's just like wrecked, Yeah.
So, whereas this solution with a time lock and double ones you control, you can have a backstop.
Yeah.
So basically, it is a time lock without the yield function. It's a staking ladder without the yield function.
And with the safety backstop.
And with the
I'd say it's worthwhile with Pulse over PulseX, because at least in the early days, because delegating Pulse doesn't get that much Pulse, like getting like little pieces of something. Whereas PulseX is going to have single side staking where you could be missing out on huge yields, So I would maybe do it with some Pulse.
It's tough. It's tough because again, it's one of those. It's the hex. You could just. You can look at the numbers, sure, and staking is amazing, but like price appreciation is still, champion. So like there's still something to be said for just not spending your coins. I'm not saying that I'm always going to do that or anything. I'm just saying that it's the numbers are numbers.
Maddie, do you have a diagram, or do you think you'll be releasing any business logic, like how all these things work? Because I think it'd be a little bit easier to look at the different angles of it if we could see okay, if you do this feature in the wallet, it does this. If you do this, does that, kind of like a visual diagram.
Yeah, so you can see kind of the risk reward you're making. That'll be something that I guess would have to come out once we have a little bit more understanding of what kind of yields you can see from delegation and single side staking. Yeah.
Well, even without knowing we can see on testnet that there's a tiny little bit here and there, and that the point of this is to give people a tool. Like, I call it a superpower that I was able to hold through a 1000x with HEX, the smart contract. I have smart hands, not strong hands. My hands are actually weaker now than they've ever been because I have been using HEX as my superpower. And so I need this. I need this badly. And other people might need this badly. And so this is not about APY. And that could be a selling point that people who are uncomfortable with APY being scammy, but the majority of the people who are going to find the fit here with the product are going to be people who just did so well in HEX because they time locked and they already get it. And they don't need APY to prove that that's valuable. And they're the only ones who are left standing now anyway. So
that's something I've long theorized on in general, was that the X's that you're going to see from PulseX might take longer than HEX because of the lack of a solid staking feature, of time locking feature. A lot of L1s that are out there that have come up that have made huge gains did make those gains, but it didn't happen nearly as fast. You didn't see huge run-ups in the first few months like we did with HEX. Again, I defer to dollar cost on this one, though, that that a lot of L1s have pumped huge, but took 2 years to do it.
This is kind of a slow burn, and then it really. It was kind of like it was kind of like a train going up a hill, but once it got over the hill, it just went super fast. because there was a really good period of time there in Hex. Like, god damn. I mean, we were talking 20 minutes about Hex and 3 hours about dicks and ass, basically.
Yeah, there's a question from the chat about to Maddie about when do you think something will be out? Is there like a roadmap or timeline for release of the wallet?
No expectations. No pressure on
4 more weeks?
the person writing the code. No pressure.
Right.
Will there be a sacrifice phase?
No sacrifice, no coin.
That's great.
Are you telling me I can't send you money, Maddie?
You can hold me to the fact that nothing gets duct taped on this baby.
No duct tape, Maddie.
So if you're not going to duct tape anything, which is good, but I saw this in the chat as well. People saying this, like, maybe you should lead in with like this is a way to just like a firewall or a way to protect it a little better, and then lead in with the staking, because obviously the staking is great. Actually, we understand why staking is good, but most people, since there's not like, I mean, it's an ounce of prevention. I mean, an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure, right? That old adage. Well, the 38% APY APR on Hex is the sweetener to stake that long, right? And since we don't have that, you've got to go with the other sweetener, which is basically, for those with Butterfingers, have anti-Butterfinger gloves, or you know what I mean. You gotta like, because the staking is just not going to entice the average guy. I mean, like I would, like if I would do it and I had a stack, I'm like, all right, you know what the hell, this is kind of smart. Let me lock up some up right here, just in case I mess it up somehow. Cool, but since there's no APY APR, most people, I mean, we're in the money game, right? So most of these people aren't going to do it at all. And
We're gonna show the APY on people who use smartvault.me, and it's going to blow away people who just held liquid, because people aren't going to be holding on through the 90% dips in PulseChain or through the 100Xs. It's just people are going to self-select out if they don't time lock, because time locking is your superpower.
I really think that focusing on the security stuff is like a super good idea too. Sorry, I apologize. I'll let you go for the question.
Is this going to be on Ethereum as well, or just PulseChain?
It's pretty compatible with a lot of stuff, I guess.
Well, the reason I ask about Ethereum is because, okay, say you're not using your whole stack to time lock all of it. Okay, so it's a smaller stack, and 1% has to go to buying Hex as a fee, either to yourself or somebody else. So if that, you know how the fees on Ethereum for Hex stakes are real bad, you may end up forcing someone to do a stake that is literally losing them money because of the gas fees, because it gets real bad on Ethereum, and it's a really small amount of Hex. It's 1% of a smaller stack. So some people might get.
I have a cool solution for that problem.
Okay. Is
so
it like it only does
people who time lock very small amounts of money will not have to pay high gas fees.
You're aggregating the gas fees?
No, but I'm also not saying exactly what I'm doing, because I'll tell you later when it's ready.
I got a question. You're like, well,
really
I can't
cool.
tell you why.
It's too cool to reveal at this point. It's too cool.
And on that secret stuff, I got to run everyone.
Also,
hey, thanks for being here, man.
Yeah,
everything
I just want to say, if you
appreciate
see me in Vegas, come get one of these cups for free while they last.
Wow.
Richard Hart.
Wow.
Awesome.
Nice.
Red Bull.
No, it's not lasting very long.
It's reality warping.
Yes, and it works. It drinks well. It works. So, yeah, thanks for inviting me on, Maddie. Nice to see you all. And
my pleasure.
Yeah, everyone. Yep. See you later.
Oh, you're heading out later, man.
Now everybody gets 2% more because he's gone.
We know Sticker Guy's got questions. That guy's always got questions.
Yeah, look. So Marco got me on the thought, but maybe it's his thought. I'm not sure. Could you also make the tool that you can not only lock up Pulse and Pulse X, but any type of coin? And with that in mind, could you, because it's like if you lock your Pulse or your Pulse and Pulse X, you cannot generate yield with it, but if you provide liquidity, you also lock the liquidity coin.
So this is not compatible with like providing liquidity. It would be compatible with other coins. although
So-
the primary use case is PulseX and PulseChain because of the product market fit between people who already understand the value of time locking, and that's their next natural step from like whatever they're in now to like, you know, these new things, and then they can get into Hex after that because they have had such good experience with time locking.
Like I said, I really think that the security stuff, where like if you could pose it, you could post it, you could like market it to degen people as we had said, like as a backstop, to where like if you could have a lock all coins button and then transfer all coins, then like that you have on there, then like you had said, if you tried to claim some shady airdrop or you went and did some stupid degen stuff, you could potentially, you know, it's like a, you know, a backstop for saving your, you know, yourself from your own stupid maneuvers. I mean, that's a legitimate like new market of people that you'd be trying to reach out to.
Yeah. So the other way to look at this is that you can lock any coin for any duration, but you still have to pay 1% to Hex.
Wait,
to
so
yourself.
okay, say you're like, oh man, I want to be a degen and I'm not going to read anything. I'm going to click all these links and try and get an airdrop or something. But you're like, I don't want to mess with my wallet. That's risky. Can you could just lock? I mean, if you only used it for Pulse and PulseX or something, because that's the only stuff that you can lock here. If you had a wallet that just had that stuff, then you could interact almost with anything as long as you smart locked your stuff first and had the backstop, because they wouldn't be able to get anything. You could just do it for a day or a week. Because if you click a contract and it's like, oh, would have swiped everything, well, you're like, oh, well,
They can't get it for 7
I'm just gonna
days.
pull
You
it back
move it
to my
over.
other
Yeah.
account, and then it didn't matter what you did on that address. So
And that reminds me of something. Are you foregoing all airdrops and free claims? You can't check your wallet for you know, to be for a free claim, right? You can't do it in some certain amount of time. Are you foregoing those gains as well?
that is a thing to consider.
That's an interesting question. If you know, if the way that safe locks it up is going to make it so that you can, so you can't claim those airdrops, or you can't, you know.
I mean, to claim most airdrops, I don't think you have to be able to move the primary coins. It just
No, so
checks.
you just
So
check
like
to see that
like
they're
with the
there,
Gnosis
so-
safe,
Mhm.
you know, I've been able to claim most airdrops, right? Like,
Mhm.
so that shouldn't be a problem.
But okay, so all right, I'd like to
That's
definitely
good.
know about that.
Yeah. That's
That's
yeah.
good
So like I
news,
said,
right?
that's I think I mean, because like I you know, we know the benefit of time blocking, but I do think that in overall, in compared to general crypto, we are the minority, you know, that appreciate that stuff. So
Extreme minority.
extreme minority,
So-
you know.
I
So, I
can think
mean-
of, there's one coin with a 4-year lock, and then after that, the longest is 2 years in crypto. That's I can't literally I can't think of any other crypto. I think like that's Curve 4-year
Mhm.
lock, and then
Yeah.
Liquid Driver 2 years. That's it.
Do you think
Yeah.
people would lock up other coins for the security benefits or for the
Over
like
over
strong
time,
hands?
if they're hexagons, yes, but you do
short
have that
term,
locking
maybe
feature. I think yes. I think yes over time, but
I would.
you'd have to compare. Like that's why. I mean, there's studies have come out about basically some of the best. This is an equities in study, so please take that with a grain of salt. But you know, and the best investors are basically people who died because they never moved their assets, and then when they find out
That's
that people
funny.
died, the gains are made and stuff. So, or
Yeah.
they're extremely inactive and stuff. So people with amnesia, great investors because they just forget about their assets. People are notoriously bad traders, but yeah,
New
that's
product getting hit on the head really hard.
right.
Maddie,
of rock.
I'm sorry. Back to another security concern that just came to my head. Just want to be clear. Gnosis Safe enjoys multi-sig, multiple signatories, hardware wallets, passphrase enabled hidden wallets, all that stuff. Same here.
Yeah.
Exactly the same. It's fine compatibility there. Just create your stuff on your Trezor with a passphrase. Use that as one of the signatories, wipe it clean, do another one, second signatory, 2 out of 3, 3 out of 5, 5 out of whatever. You can do that just the same. Yeah. Gnosis Safe. All right. And you mentioned something, and this is the second one, mentioned something about audits. Maybe the community can do it. I kind of urge you to take that very seriously, because from my experience looking into the audits for Gnosis Safe, you really do see an evolution. It didn't take them overnight to get it right? They evolved over time, and the audits really show a progression, and they found a lot of vulnerabilities that nobody thought of, and I definitely would like to see this one get audited as well. I know it may take more time and money, but spend it, Maddie. Come on.
Hey, we got a legend in the chat.
See. Hey, is that HEX
HEX
19?
19.
Thank you for the $50 super chat. Thank you, Maddie, and all for this opportunity. Can't wait to see how it rolls out with Pulse and PulseX. Always learning and moving on. Respect.
Dude, HEX 19 is who I want to be when I'm his age. That guy was so cool with losing so much. I can't believe it.
He gave it to us. Come
Impressive. Yeah, it was second big payday. It was amazing.
Happy HEX 19 day, as he said.
That's right.
That happened not long after I got into Hex, and I thought that's something regular. I was like, oh, cool, today it's 24. That's great. Can't wait for the future. And then we were like month later, it was like, okay, we're now never going back under 6. So it's like, I still feel very sorry for this guy, but
it was a tragedy, to be sure. But
yes.
We all learned from it, right? We all learned from Maddie interviewing him, and we leached out all that poison and found out exactly how to protect ourselves better as a result. So it's a double win, right? So thank you.
That event got me to get a hardware wallet and to go into Telegram chats and to ask my questions to how to get stuff.
Yeah, I mean, in general,
Papa Boner.
I mean, I've been in and out of a bunch. Like, I've been through crypto for a while, and like Hexkins and the security that we take, like the way that we take security so seriously is I feel kind of like it's unfair for me, because like the first coin that I got into before I even had owned any Bitcoin was Monero, and Monero is incredibly privacy based, and to understand and even use it is more complex than most other cryptos that are out there. So like, I kind of like, I take for granted the fact that this stuff is like, it was ingrained in me, but like it's not every community has this many people that care, that spends like a Papa Boner, like y'all spending as much time as you do, helping people to understand the importance of all that stuff it's pretty legendary. It really is.
It is.
Yeah. What I found that's really helped a lot of guys. So obviously I'm coming from the red pill community, is basically giving them this nightmare of their money being stolen by their significant other. And that's enough to push them into actual safe private coin storage. Not private coin, but,
you gotta speak to the audience, You
gotta speak to your audience, right?
But it's true. I'm impressed. I'm impressed by how many people pay attention to that and have taken note. And like you said, myself as well, how many hardware wallets have we've all directly are responsible for sales from these companies. So it's good to see. It's one of those things where I from the very beginning, I like when people are like, oh, someday everyone's going to understand this stuff. I'm like, no, they probably won't. They mostly will not, So to see so many people care and understand it it's invigorating. Hope, it brings hope. It's pretty cool. So yeah.
Can I show you guys the questions that I'm asking on my survey? Let me see if I can bring it up here. So it's smartvaults.club is how people can get involved right now with the 5-question survey. And I will share my screen here, and we can go through like what that would look like if people wanted to help out by completing the survey. So this is the Telegram chat as well as another way. So it's kind of like a text conversation is like the style of the Survey Monkey here. And so the first question out of the 5 is, how often do you plan to withdraw from your long-term crypto savings? And then you can say weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly, or waiting decades. For me, I'd probably put like monthly or quarterly.
Is there a daily option?
Because there's like a 7-day withdrawal period in order for security purposes. That's why a daily is missing from here, but that's a good question. And so you like technically you can time lock for 10 seconds, but then you have to wait. Then you have to submit the withdrawal request that's going to take 7 days, of locking you out to complete. So I'm going to put here, I'll put like monthly, I guess. And then it says like, how many years on average do you want to save or time lock your PLS and PLSX? My average stake length in HEX right now is like 10 years. So maybe I would want to do a little bit longer than that, just,
Damn,
because
the head shake was crazy right now. You're like 10 years.
Well, I'm going longer than that. I mean,
talk
why
your
not?
shit, Maddie. Come on.
If I can get it out continuously every month, then 12 years. And then what was the total value of your PulseChain and PulseX sacrifice? I won't say that on screen or whatever, but I could put that. And then will you follow Telegram and Twitter for @SmartVaultMe? I already followed them. And then any suggestions is just an open comment box. So
enter private keys.
Like call it firewall or something. But a lot of people have been saying. So then it completes the survey.
Dig it. That's easy. That's easy and quick. That's a survey I can actually complete.
So
I tell them they're always like, "Can you complete the survey?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure," but I barely ever do. Sorry.
I think some great diagrams would be great for explaining the firewall part to new people, if that's like a big part of it. So people can understand it at a glance. Like just saying it's a firewall and people are like, well, some people don't even know what a firewall is, so they're just like lost. So maybe showing like hacker on one side, you on the other, and computer, and using the thing protected, other guy didn't use it wrecked in a diagram or something,
Yeah.
So
totally.
I'm sorry if I start all over again, but you have to walk through with me. So I have my address where the money is coming from, and I have the option to give the smart contract a second address that I can send the money to if I activate a switch.
Mm-hmm.
Can that be automated, and could that be automated to send it to more than one wallet at a time? Like, let's say, hey, I have this amount of money and I want to build my PulseX staking ladder, but I have 4 children and I want every of these 4 children to receive X amount of my coins in this, like every 5 years.
Yes.
Could it be possible? That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you can make trust children on
I
chain.
can make a trust pyramid and get awesome.
Are you gonna have statistics and stuff and analytics for all this, or is it like hard to tell or track how much is in the time lock contract, or is it just gonna be super obvious? So we'll have cool analytics of how much is locked in there.
I haven't decided yet, like how much privacy is going to be built in as default, but I would probably rather have more privacy built in than more statistics.
Well, what about privacy of the blockchain? Do we have that?
There might be like a happy medium, but basically the idea here is that like the blockchain can stop double spends because it can see that a smart contract owns these coins, but then who owns the smart contract is less clear in some cases. Like take for example how StakerApp already uses Gnosis Safe. Oh, that reminds me, we're gonna get a Gnosis Safe airdrop. The ones that are like the token that's already out there is a scam token, so like the coins haven't been distributed yet. But basically, the way that StakerApp works is like if you give them a fake email address and you like delete your StakerApp, then it's really hard to go back and figure out what your actual address is for your vault because it's not super clear on the blockchain. So the reason I explain that is just because like that's a good example that already exists of where it's more private than you probably realize, and it's a good reminder just for people like to, you know, to record what that address is, or to like use your real email, or just like know what situation you can get yourself in.
The reason I asked was to lead up to asking, like, could a bunch of addresses be recognized for potential airdrops in the future by using this? Like, it'll be like, oh, all these addresses are recognized for using the time lock. They thought they weren't going to get anything special other than delaying gratification and, you know, staying in the market.
It would probably be much easier to see on chain that like some address was holding coins for a certain length of time and not knowing necessarily that it's part of smartvault.me, that it's like the smart contract that's holding them. But there's an address on the blockchain that's like holding these coins.
But you should be able to like sign something to claim an airdrop that you you interacted with the contract. It should know.
So we're not sure that we're going to make it easy for people to see all the addresses that own smart vaults. Like we might not make that super easy to see.
Well, we might not be able to see it, but you should be able to sign something that you can
prove
check
that you
that
like,
only someone who
post
time
facto
locked
somebody
before
else who used that
ability.
wallet could show that they deserve the airdrop, is what you're saying, basically.
Yeah, I think it's possible if you wanted to do that in the future. Like, regardless, I think it's possible. But
cool,
Maddie, I'm old and I'm losing brain cells, so may I just jump in here before I forget what I was thinking of just now?
Go ahead,
gentlemen. I'm sorry. Sticker guy just inspired me to have a thought here. Maybe there was a button, because now you're programming the release. Let's just talk about the disbursement aspect. If this, and it can definitely be transferred legally to an entity that is a trust. Let's call it a charitable remainder trust can own this safe and be funded into the safe. And a button can be selected, perhaps, for two different buttons I would suggest putting in. Number one would be the long-term capital gains button, which is a year and a day, maybe. And another one would be in line with the CRUT, meaning there's a disbursement on a schedule that's like worked out to, like K4K, I think, and Sticker Guy both said, different beneficiaries could actually have different amounts. That's all written within the framework of everything. Now you have a very secure and automated way to have an administration of your trust that's trustless. You don't have to pay a CPA to do this for you. And it's all goes, and it withholds also another 20% to fall down to something like your family foundational, which is then administered with a CPA after that. But these automated things, there could be a huge market for that alone.
Yeah, and that's really easy to do with smart contracts. All in all.
I mean, buttons, easy things to, dial it in. Green lights for a certain, menu of items that are strictly for trusts and disbursements, strictly for long-term capital gains, strictly for this, so that people can just click it, get the menu that they want, and slide.
Because that is definitely something that, like, I've I can remember telling people about why smart contracts are going to be amazing, like where the benefit is a long time ago. I mean, 2-3 years ago, and being like, oh, you could make automated payments on chain, and like that, like that resonates with people who aren't crypto people. You're like, oh, you've heard of an escrow? Well, you could do that with a smart contract, but like it still hasn't become like no one's created tools that are point and click, like you're saying, like green light buttons, very easy menus, that kind of thing for these things yet. And if there was, you're right. I think there's a market for it for sure.
Yeah, that's why I asked in the beginning if it is only for Pulse and Pulse X, because if you could do it for something like a stable coin, you could use it to pay a loan, or not a loan, but what is it called if you work somewhere? I don't know the English word. Like if you're employed, you're getting paid
like a salary.
A salary, yes. You could pay salary with that function, but you would not want to pay a appreciating asset as salary, right? Because then you would technically lose money. But if you could do it for a stable, you had the option to give out a monthly pay or yeah, you get what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
you said if there's a trust that you're executing, there's somebody who's running that or whatever, that there could also be all sorts of, or whatever the contract that you decide to write up, if there's property held in the trust or something like that and how you wanted it to be paid out and people to be dealt with it, all that kind of stuff could be technically put into,
Right. Or a percentage that has to be always, like a percentage of the actual market value could be calculated on chain and sent right to the charity without you having to worry about it every year. So it just simply, like the Family Foundational would work like that, right? It would 5% of the asset value goes out there. You're in your swimming pool enjoying yourself. Don't have to worry about it. And it just simply takes care of itself.
Could you, let's say you only want to make the tool for Pulse and Pulse X, but could you say that I'm paying you once a month in Pulse and Pulse X, but for the value of this dollar amount?
I mean, you could, but then you'd have to have, probably some sort of on-chain Oracle system or something to like be able to relate the price.
You wouldn't be able to tell what the value of a dollar is.
I mean, it might be difficult.
Yeah.
I mean,
whatever I say it is.
No likey oracles.
No, yeah, I know Oracle bad.
So that might be very, very dangerous to do.
Right.
Which
I
is
thought
fine.
nothing in Ethereum was automatic.
We don't have to know the price of anything denominated in anything else for this system to work. You are like spot on that this can actually be used for like other cryptos. So that's interesting.
If I were you building a system, I would maybe make be the freemium version be for those Pulse X HEX users, and then maybe charge a little something for the other crypto users out there.
It's kind of so it's kind of how it's been designed, that you pay a 1% fee in HEX to yourself, which so if you're locking up Saitama or you're locking up USDC on ETH or you're locking up ETH itself or whatever, like in all those situations, you're buying 1% of HEX.
Right.
So, but
Sounds good.
You never did say how we get away from, like, if it's on Ethereum, how do you avoid them paying the fees on the unstake?
You're right. I didn't say that because I don't want people to know my genius idea.
Like an encapsulated stake or something.
All the crypto is then transferred to a bank account, and in that bank account, that money is
No.
No admin keys. No taking custody. Like that's.
Yeah, there's no keys at all, man. I got an electric car, bro. So it's like there's no keys at all. No, but actually, Maddie, I have a question to ask you. So, all right, so let's just say you set up on the back end feature, right? Which is you set up basically your emergency contacts, right, in the background. Is there a process in order to change that emergency or add more people to that once you initially set it up, or is it like set in place?
Probably we would not design a way to change it because then the hacker could change it.
Got it.
And we also want to stop these from being tradable, which is like, if you have to decide ahead of time, then what are you really doing? Selling it to somebody who you already like specified ahead of time, that'd be weird. So, and
don't get divorced.
Stay together for the kids and for the smart vault.
Let's hope mom stays alive forever, you guys. Let's do it.
There's already been like 168 people who joined the Telegram, and there were like 2 when I started. So that's pretty shocking. Like,
it's the best community. That's why
there's only been like 400 people watching at a time. I'm sure it's maybe up to 1,000, but that's still really high engagement. So if you haven't joined that yet, I guess I haven't even dropped the link yet. Just in the description, I think, and I said it verbally, so that's kind of bullish. What other questions? Or I really like the ideas that you guys are having with like the presets for certain tax situations and trusts and all that kind of stuff. Is like, this is what smart contracts should be doing. It's like being smart, So
being so
thanks for inviting us, Maddie. So I hope that all the ideas that we bring together are affecting what you're building. I think it's so great that so many people work together and pull in the same direction. That just makes it even more smarter. It's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't going to get used if people don't promote it, and I hope that the terms are fair enough that you all feel like you can promote it. Just because it's good for everybody. Everybody wins. So I know I know people have to see what it is and how what the final things are, but basically I've already committed to not making a token, not duct taping anything, not sacrificing. It's the catch is an optional 1% fee for the lazy people, and even the people who aren't lazy, they're adding 1% of buy pressure to HEX from whatever they're time locking. So that seems like fair enough to me that I'm motivated to work on it.
Just make a really cool little infographic for everybody at like a 5th grade comprehension reading level, and I think everyone's going to understand. I think this is like the key thing right here. It's just making it like, this is what you get if you do this. Wow! This is what you get if you get that. Whoa! This helps the HEX price? No way! This thing's awesome. There you go, man.
I just imagined you like playing Little Piggies with me and singing these songs.
Yeah.
It's so perfect, Thank you. Would you?
That's awesome. Would you?
Well, if there are any other questions, you can ask now. Otherwise, go ahead and tell people where to find you guys, and that way we can make sure they subscribe.
Oh, awesome. I don't have any more questions. I'm excited to see it all come out, and like I said, the things that you're leaving out, are intriguing too. So cool. It's pretty nifty. Thanks for having me on, right? Appreciate it, man.
Of course. Yeah.
Big Kurkowski. You can find me on Twitter, Telegram. I think there's an underscore on my Instagram, and then check out the Highest of Stakes. That should be out soon. Very excited about that. That's about it for me.
Have you gotten to see it
check
yet?
me out on the happy hour. Oh yes, I have. I may have gotten to see a screening. I mean, I don't know if it's like if it's like where it's there. I'm sure there's some edges and whatever's, but
awesome. Yeah, basically you're a movie star. We get it. All right.
Well, I mean,
the aviators really show 100%.
No, that's so awesome. I'm so excited to see that and basically show all of my friends as well.
It's
a great way to market.
I had a great time being a part of it in general. I mean, they were awesome people to work with, and I mean, it was an experience all in of itself. So to see it coming together is just
their team. Epic. They're like passionate, talented, fun people is what it seemed like. Like every time they interacted with Richard, and they're flying helicopters, videotaping stuff. That sounds like fun. That's so crazy.
There's not very many
cool stuff.
Go look at other documentaries out there. There's not many that have the stuff that we have. It's pretty cool.
I'm
excited about it.
Any thoughts on how long we have to wait?
I mean, I would love.
Sell it, right?
I would love for it to be out before, us be all watching it before the end of the year. That would be amazing. I can't guarantee. I mean, that's I have no control over that. I'm, that's all just like my hopes and dreams. But that would be really cool. That would be really cool. Yeah. So I would like to start planning a premiere event somewhere. That'd be real sick. So
yeah, very excited.
All right, I guess I'll. I mean, I don't have to say my stuff. I said it earlier, but follow me on Twitter, K4K Crypto. I'm trying to onboard as many people as possible through YouTube and social medias. I have editors clipping up all my content, all the best stuff. I have new content on every social every single day. I'm just going to keep ramping it up is the plan. More tools, more materials for people to get onboarded. The plan.
Yeah, your stuff's awesome, man. Oh, I do a happy hour show on Friday too. I forgot about that. It's just fun though.
K4K Crypto on YouTube and Twitter. Those are the big ones.
Check his shit's really informative. I'm just an ass jack getting high on stream. So
yeah.
I love when you smoke the lava lamps. They look so cool.
Oh yeah. We'll Puffco for the ride out.
Now he's like, oh no, on my
him.
channel.
There we go.
I'm under him. I get a contact high. This is awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
So,
Yeah,
Dollar cost?
Dollar cost is amazing. So that guy, check him out too.
All right, yeah, check me out at Dollar Cost Crypto on YouTube, Twitter, and now on Instagram. And yeah, man, also clipping out content and stuff. We got the course that's going to come out probably at the end of the year, maybe December, November or something for the next one. Had a pretty successful launch, onboarded 400 new Hexicans into Hex. So pretty cool.
That is so awesome, dude. I love when you're putting up those numbers. Especially like, was that on the Fresh and Fit when you're just like nonchalantly like, yeah, we just brought on like 800 people, 400 new Hex. It's like, that's amazing. That's so good.
We have some of the numbers from all the courses and stuff so far. Maybe like we're rough. This is like rough numbers, like 7,400 to maybe like 8,200 people into Hex.
Shit, that's incredible, man.
Oh, amazing.
And that's stakers.
And they're getting the best information too, like from you guys. You know, if they were taught by you, they got the right infos. They're going to be secure. They're in the right stuff. They understand the mindset of winning in investing and long-term thinking. It's like you're setting those people up real good. They're getting good.
What percentage of all Hexicans right now that you know of have you onboarded? Because these are huge numbers. What percentage would you say?
That's almost 1/10 of all the stakers.
Yeah,
almost. Yeah, I mean, but that's what the course numbers. But if we counted with like Discord Syndicate, probably like 15%, something like that. As the initial guys, but like some of those original 5% were basically big whales in the ecosystem now. Basically, it's pretty crazy numbers. I told Richard that he was like, "Damn, son."
I mean, their numbers are fire. I mean, I remember you talking like from very beginning of streaming, you talking about starting the course and everything else. I was impressed, so it's super kick-ass to see you come along this way, man. It's fucking awesome, man.
I wish I could tell you some of the people that I onboarded over the past weekend, man, but I onboarded some big players into Hex recently. I mean, talking big.
When Moon.
Well, there's some number. There's people about a lot of Hex recently. So there you go.
It's awesome, man. That's shit's kick-ass.
Oh, is
Papa
it my
Boner.
turn now? Oh, okay. All right, I guess I'm like a bad penny. I always turn up somewhere. On Twitter, I'm this is my name reversed, so I'm Boner Papa on Twitter. If you want to be annoyed, I very rarely have anything in terms of informative type of content on stream with the Wake Up Hex show on. What do we do? Tuesdays and Thursday mornings, U.S. time. Got the Hex Asians on Monday morning, U.S. time. And I appear sometimes on the Magic Carpet Ride 369 channel as well, doing informative videos about hardware wallets and security. Other than that, I'll find you. How's that?
All right. Sleeping with one eye open tonight.
What?
Oh, nothing. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's Sticker Guy Win on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and buy my stickers on Shopify. Please help me out. Let's fucking go.
You guys trying to buy the dip, yo. Oh man!
Wow. Yo, you guys, I have a cat. It's dying right now. Please buy stickers.
Are you serious?
I can't even feed
you actually
the
have a cat dying? That's so sad.
Are you serious? So
No.
do I. And I'm not joking.
I can't even feed myself properly. How am I supposed to feed an animal? That would be inappropriate.
Oh,
I have some plans, but
the cat goes and hunts for you, brings back the food.
Oh, what? You should have told me. I didn't know. No, in my area, cats are not. There's like
Hunters?
only. No, it's.
Well, you know what they say: move to an area where you can get more healthy pussy.
Is that what they say?
That's what they say.
Then they are right.
Holocaust had to piece it. Oh man.
Any other advice for Sticker Guy while we're at it?
Yes, come on, give me the advice.
He bought it 40 cents. What advice do
Drop
we have?
I also bought it 10 cents, and I also bought it.
Drop that
5 cents.
Shopify
I
link,
also
man.
bought
I'm gonna
it
get you.
7
I'm gonna get
cents.
some of these stickers from you, man. Shit.
Yeah.
Oh man.
What's your Shopify link?
Yeah, sure.
I posted it in the chat, but I can.
Perfect.
post
Got
again.
it. Sick.
Sticker Guy. Oh man. Are you gonna be in Vegas, Sticker Guy?
No, I'm not. But while the Crypto Spar booth is doing the golf thing, I'm kind of being in the green room of the golf tour live stream thing.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
To
We appreciate you, Sticker Guy.
Yes, totally.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys. You're doing way more than I could ever do. But I will catch up. 15% it is dollar cost crypto. I'll try to get 20.
Right.
Yeah, dude. If we all strive for that goal, we're bound to get something, you know.
Yeah.
Shoot for the moon, you'll land among the stars, they say.
That's the plan.
Well, I appreciate all of you legends being on here, and I hope that everybody who's listening can keep the good ideas coming, and just let me know if you have an idea. I'll try to and if anybody wants to volunteer to help with the Telegram or design a logo or whatever it is, we're gonna have to do better than PZen in terms of the logo.
Oh my god, Richard's reaction.
Sure.
So good on stream when he gets asked about it. What's that, Richard?
Maddie looking for smoke today.
Wait,
Dude, I
DCC,
laughed
you were there when
so
he said
hard with
that.
the people
right?
I was watching
It's
with.
a
Oh my
scam.
god,
That was great.
So that'd be great. And yeah, but seriously, thanks for all you guys do for the HEX community and for PulseChain and PulseX. And everybody go follow them and stay tuned for more game theory coming out.
awesome. Thanks, Maddie. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, man.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Maddie.
And everybody who came to watch, you too, are awesome.
Yeah.
Lots of people. Ooh, chill music.
So much time at work, 369 views. Don't know how this happens, but Tesla was kind of right. Kind of magic.